The universe does not respond to need. It responds to frequency. It listens not to the words alone, but to the energy beneath them. Desperation is a current of fear, and fear blocks the flow of abundance. When you beg, plead, or strive with a clenched heart, you are unknowingly pushing away the very thing you seek. Not because you are unworthy, but because the vibration of need speaks lack into the fabric of reality. The law is simple. What you feel, you feed. What you vibrate, you invite. You may say, I want more money. But if your energy is filled with worry, you are declaring lack, not wealth. You may say, I want love. But if your heart is coated in loneliness, the universe hears the echo of separation. It is not your wish that manifests, it is your dominant vibration. And this is why stillness is more powerful than striving, why faith carries further than force. You must learn to pray not with anxious energy, but with a calm expectancy that all is well, that all is already in motion. This is the sacred posture of spiritual magnetism, not effort, but alignment. The flower does not scream to the sun to be noticed. It opens silently, and the sun finds it. In the same way, you must become an open space, not a frantic seeker. The universe is not testing you, it is mirroring you. It is reflecting the song your soul is singing every day. And if that song is one of trust, peace, and gratitude, then life will begin to harmonize with your inner music. There is no power in begging the universe to give what you do not yet believe you deserve, but there is great power in embodying the state of already having received. This is the true work of manifestation, not forcing outcomes, but elevating your frequency until what you desire cannot help but come to you. You become the living invitation. You become the match to the miracle. You speak it once with conviction, and then you rest in the knowing. To raise your vibration is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about surrendering the illusion of control and stepping into divine cooperation. It is about choosing trust over panic, gratitude over lack, presence over projection. The more relaxed your soul, the more open your channel. The more open your channel, the more quickly spirit can flow. When you release the grip of needing, you awaken the flow of receiving. Because energy is a faithful servant, it will always bring more of what you are. Every word you speak with faith plants a seed in the invisible soil of divine substance. The words may seem small, the moment may seem still, but beneath the surface, the laws of the universe are already stirring, already responding, already forming the unseen into the seen. When you boldly affirm, I am wealthy, I am healed, I am loved, you are not describing what your eyes see, you are shaping what your eyes will see. The spiritual realm responds not to what is, but to what is spoken in alignment with truth. Faith is the voice that calls things that are not as though they were, and in that calling, the form begins to appear. It is not about pretending or performing. It is about claiming what is already yours in spirit and allowing that claim to rise into matter. You are not lying to yourself. You are speaking the higher truth, the truth beyond conditions, beyond facts, beyond evidence. Because spiritual law does not operate by what has happened, it moves by what is declared. And when that declaration is made from a heart that believes, from a soul that trusts, it becomes a living force, a magnetic signal sent out into the field, drawing to it all things necessary for fulfillment. So you do not wait for circumstances to shift before you speak differently. You speak differently, and the circumstances will shift. You do not wait for the door to open before you give thanks. You give thanks, and the door opens. You do not wait for the money to appear before you affirm prosperity. You affirm it now with power, with peace, with joyful certainty. Because the moment you align your word with the truth of divine supply, the currents begin to flow. You may not see it immediately, but know this: the energy has moved, the call has been heard, and the universe is already at work, bringing it into form. You must not underestimate the power of your affirmations. They are not empty phrases, they are sacred instruments. They are spiritual instructions. They are the language of creation. What you say in faith becomes a mold, and the formless substance of the universe rushes to fill it. If you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," that mold is honored. If you say, "Everything is always working in my favor," that mold is honored too. The choice is always yours. Speak life and life will come. Speak lack and lack will follow. But speak boldly what you desire, and do so with the unwavering conviction of one who knows that their word is backed by the whole power of the infinite. Let your affirmations be clear. Let them be rooted in joy. Let them rise not from fear, but from truth. Say them as if the heavens have already agreed, because they have. You are not trying to become what you speak. You are remembering that you already are. Doubt is not harmless. It is a spiritual disruptor. It interrupts the flow of divine energy like static in a signal, scattering the vibration of your intention. Every time you ask for a thing and then second, guess whether it will come, you plant and uproot your own seed. You speak, then cancel. You believe, then fear. You set your desire into motion, and then, with the energy of uncertainty, you halt its arrival. Faith does not beg for signs. Faith is the sign. It is the evidence of things not seen, the inner knowing that says, "Even if I do not yet see it, it is already mine." The unseen realm moves in response to that kind of inner certainty. It does not respond to confusion, for confusion carries no clarity of vibration. It responds to alignment, the alignment of your heart, your word, and your emotion with the outcome you have already accepted. You must stop checking the soil for the sprout every hour. A farmer does not plant the seed and return in worry. He plants and trusts. He waters with expectation, not with doubt. In the same way, your spiritual requests must be sealed with unwavering trust. You speak the word, and then you rest. You do not need to repeat it in fear. You need to trust that what was set into motion cannot return void. There is a sacred force that honors your bold faith, not loud faith, not desperate faith. Quiet, calm, confident faith, the kind that speaks once and then acts as though the answer is already in the room. The kind that doesn't keep asking when, but instead prepares as if the manifestation is on its way. Because that kind of preparation is itself a declaration. When you doubt, you delay. When you believe, you build. And in the realm of spirit, belief is the blueprint. It is easy to have faith when the evidence is visible. But manifestation begins before the proof arrives. The work of creation is done in the invisible first. The moment you speak your desire in truth and align with it emotionally, you begin to mold the field around you. You may not hear the changes, you may not see them yet, but they are happening. The universe is never still in response to faith. It is moving, arranging, shifting, guiding, flowing, aligning. But if you allow fear to sit in your heart, if you begin to imagine loss, or entertain the thought that perhaps you are not worthy, you withdraw from the current. You stand outside the stream. To walk in manifestation, you must stand inside your desire with full spiritual confidence. You must hold the vision when there is no proof, carry the feeling when there is no form, speak the promise when there is no sign. That is the sacred discipline. That is the secret. Not to demand, not to chase, not to strive, but to trust so completely that the universe has no option but to fulfill the word that your faith has spoken. There is a kind of prayer that does not ask, it declares. It does not plead for change, it announces it. This is the secret prayer, the one often misunderstood, because it does not come from the energy of waiting. It comes from the energy of arrival. When you speak this way, you are not trying to convince the universe to bless you. You are stepping into alignment with the truth that the blessing already exists. It's not a wish, it's a spiritual statement of completion. This kind of prayer does not reach out into the future, it draws the future into now. The mind wants to delay. It says, maybe one day, but the spirit knows only now. Divine timing does not mean someday. It means everything arrives at the perfect moment of alignment. So, when you speak the secret prayer, you do not speak from a sense of lack or distance. You speak as though it is done. You say, I am healed. Even if the body has yet to respond, you say, I am prosperous. Even if your hands have not yet touched the wealth. You say, I am loved. Even if no one has yet appeared to prove it. This is not denial of reality. It is spiritual dominance over it. In this sacred approach, you stop chasing answers and start becoming the answer. You stop asking for light and start declaring, I am the light. You stop waiting for the door to open and begin affirming, every door I need is already open before me. And it is in that moment of holy confidence that the universe begins to fold around your word. The circumstances begin to echo your belief. The mirror begins to change, not because the world suddenly shifted, but because your inner declaration became the new command. There is no uncertainty in this kind of prayer. It is not weak or tentative. It does not end in question marks. It speaks in certainty. And the more you live in that vibration, the more the physical begins to reflect the spiritual, because the universe is not confused by appearances. It responds to the tone behind them. If your tone is fear, you attract delay. If your tone is faith, you attract acceleration. What many call waiting on God is often just waiting on their own alignment. For God, Source, Divine Intelligence, it has already said yes. It is already flowing. The stream has not stopped. Only the receiver has stepped out of it. So you do not return to the prayer to repeat the request. You return to remind yourself of the truth, that it is done, that the blessing is not on the way. It is already here in seed form. And every time you affirm it, every time you speak it with love and certainty, you water that seed with spiritual confidence. And like all things rooted in truth, it must eventually bloom. When you truly understand your place in the divine order, you stop asking and begin commanding not from ego, but from sacred alignment. You are not a servant begging for favor from the universe. You are a co-creator operating within its laws. You were never meant to grovel before the unseen forces. You were designed to speak with clarity, to align with truth, and to declare that truth boldly. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual inheritance. The power that formed the worlds was breathed into you. It responds not to desperation, but to authority born of love and certainty. To command in harmony with divine law is to speak what the divine would speak through you. It means you do not ask for things that already exist in the storehouse of spirit. You declare them as released, as received, as real in the now. You are not trying to get the universe to respond. You are responding to the truth that the universe is already in motion. The storehouses are full, the paths are cleared, but they open not by need, they open by resonance. When you say, I choose peace, you are not wishing for peace to fall upon you. You are aligning with the law of peace that already exists. And in that alignment, the vibration within you shifts and the world outside you follows. You must remember, the universe is obedient to spiritual law, not emotional chaos. When you're ruled by fear, your command becomes foggy. When you speak from doubt, your frequency collapses. But when you speak from your divine center, from that place where your soul and source are one, your words are creative forces. They carry weight. They ripple through the field of infinite substance and draw the formless into form. It's not about using the right words. It's about embodying the truth behind them. You are not calling down a blessing from somewhere far above. You are awakening what has already been placed within you. And when you speak in alignment with that knowing, the universe must respond, not because you are forcing it, but because you are finally tuned to the same frequency. This is how miracles unfold, not by pushing, but by resonance. You become the space in which the desired reality can land. You become the one who no longer asks, will it happen, but instead says, of course it is already done. The shift is internal first. You release the role of the seeker and step into the identity of the speaker, the one who knows that their voice carries the signature of the divine. You are not requesting permission to receive. You are honoring the law that says all is already given. And so, your prayer becomes less of a plea and more of a declaration, not because you are above humility, but because you understand spiritual order. What you speak from this place is not noise. It is the echo of the divine intention moving through your breath. And where there is divine intention, there must be divine fulfillment. Everything in this universe moves by energy, not by effort, not by chance, but by alignment. Intention is the spark, but feeling is the flame. Thought may initiate the current, but emotion is what carries it to the shores of form. This is why it is not enough to merely say the words. You must become the feeling behind them. To feel as if it is already done is the true key. That is the language the universe responds to. That is the signature of belief. That is the signal that says, I am ready to receive. When you live in the vibration of having, even before your hands touch the thing, you become the magnet. It is not imagination, it is transmission. Your feeling becomes a broadcast, and everything that matches it begins to find you. You are not reaching out to grab what you desire, you are drawing it in by the energy you carry. The moment you embody it, it begins to find its way to you. Not because you are forcing its arrival, but because you are no longer repelling it with disbelief. This is why longing keeps things away. Longing says, I don't have it yet. It sings the song of separation. But gratitude, joy, and the quiet confidence of already being, it draws reality closer. When you sit in the energy of what is already yours in spirit, you begin to collapse time. You make space. You become the receiver. There is no need to chase what is already on its way. You simply become the place where it feels welcome to land. You do this not through struggle, but through stillness, not through trying, but through trust. You breathe it in. You allow the sensation of already having it to wash over you. You walk, talk, think, and move as one who knows it is done. And that knowing becomes a signal to the universe, clear, unwavering, magnetic. This is not pretending. This is aligning. This is no longer trying to become what you seek, but becoming the frequency of it now. Let every word you speak, every thought you choose, every breath you take carry the essence of fulfillment. Let the way you sit, the way you pray, the way you move through the world reflect the peace of completion. You don't have to see it yet to feel it now. And when you feel it now, you activate the law that brings it forward. It begins as a shift within a gentle rising of vibration, a quiet knowing in the bones, and then life begins to mirror that shift. The people, the doors, the timing all begin to align with what you have already claimed in your soul. This is the hidden path, not to push the world into shape, but to shape your energy so the world reflects it, not to chase what you want, but to prepare your inner state to match what is meant for you. When you feel it as real within, you draw it nearer without resistance, without delay, with the effortless grace of spiritual law unfolding. Gratitude is not just a polite gesture. It is a spiritual technology. It is the sacred frequency that tells the universe, I have received, even before the gift appears in form. When you give thanks ahead of time, you activate a divine signal that accelerates manifestation. You shift from waiting to welcoming. You stop observing lack and start broadcasting fulfillment. Gratitude is the emotional evidence of belief, and belief is what gives birth to the visible. So many are stuck in the energy of not yet. They wait for the blessing before they bless. They wait for the miracle before they rejoice. But the spiritual masters, the ones who understand divine law, they begin with thanksgiving. They wake up and give thanks not because everything has arrived, but because they know everything is on its way. They walk through empty fields and say, the harvest is already mine. They stand before closed doors and say, thank you, because the right one is opening. And the universe listens. Because gratitude is not noise, it is alignment. When you express thanks for what you have not yet seen, you collapse the distance between desire and manifestation. You make yourself available to the flow of abundance. You shift the lens of your perception from fear to fulfillment. And in that shift, life begins to arrange itself in your favor. Opportunities emerge, answers appear. Synchronicities unfold, not by chance, but by spiritual resonance. Gratitude rewrites the energy of your day. It lifts your vibration without effort. It silences worry and brings you into the presence of now. And it is in the now that power resides. When you are grateful, you are not waiting, you are receiving. You are not hoping, you are allowing. And that allowing is the soft space where miracles bloom. To live in gratitude is to live in overflow. It is to carry the feeling of enough, even when the bank account hasn't caught up. It is to bless the silence before the music starts. It is to say thank you before the outcome is visible, because you trust in the unseen hand that moves all things. Gratitude is not a response. It is a cause. It is not just the fruit. It is the seed. This is why the words you speak must carry appreciation. Not obligation, not performance, but true, sincere thankfulness. For what you appreciate appreciates. What you acknowledge expands. The more you focus on what is good, even in seed form, the faster it multiplies. And it doesn't take hours of chanting or pages of affirmations. One quiet, heartfelt thank you, spoken with full belief, is enough to unlock what striving never could. Gratitude is your agreement with abundance. It is the proof that you trust the process. It is the evidence that you believe the invisible is just as real as what you can touch. And it is in this energy, pure, elevated, trusting, that manifestation becomes not a question, but a certainty. Because where there is sincere gratitude, there is no room for doubt. And where there is no doubt, the universe moves without resistance. When you are in alignment with divine will, you are no longer striving to make things happen. You are allowing what is already meant for you to unfold. You step out of the exhausting cycle of force and into the quiet rhythm of trust. There is no pressure, no panic, only the gentle assurance that everything that belongs to you is already finding its way. You no longer question the timing. You no longer measure your worth by how fast the manifestation arrives. Because something deep within you begins to understand. The plan is perfect and you are inside it. There is a current to divine flow, and when you surrender to it, life becomes graceful, not because every moment is easy, but because every moment is held. There is a deep intelligence guiding each detail, and it never wastes time, never forgets, never misses a step. What appears as delay is often divine preparation. What looks like rejection is often redirection. What feels like silence is often sacred rearrangement. And when you trust this, truly trust it, peace becomes your natural state. You stop needing to control every outcome because you begin to see that something greater is already in control. The heart that is aligned with divine will does not need to manipulate circumstances it speaks. It believes and then it rests. Not in passivity, but in powerful stillness. It listens, it observes, and it follows the subtle guidance that rises from within. You begin to recognize the whispers, the nudges, the sacred pauses, and you honor them because you know they are not random. You stop rushing, you stop pushing, you start flowing, and in that flow, everything accelerates not by human effort, but by spiritual grace. When you walk in harmony with this higher order, life becomes responsive in miraculous ways. The right people appear. The perfect doors open. The clarity comes not because you chased it down, but because you were in tune. Because you trusted enough to be still. Because you believed enough to let go. Because you aligned not just your words, but your energy with the deeper knowing that you are already provided for. It becomes less about manifesting specific things and more about living from a place where what you need simply finds you. You don't force abundance. It flows to you because your spirit is uncluttered. You don't chase love. It arrives because your heart is receptive. You don't fear the future. It unfolds with divine rhythm because you no longer resist what's unfolding. Everything begins to arrive not through demand, but through surrender, not through control, but through deep spiritual agreement. You are no longer fighting for the life you desire. You are becoming the version of you who already lives it. And in that becoming, all things are added unto you. And now, beloved soul, breathe in this truth. You were never without the power. You were never waiting for permission. You were never abandoned by the source that lives within you. The universe has always been listening, not to your desperation, but to your vibration. And now you remember. You remember that your word is divine law in motion, that your prayer is not a cry in the dark, but a command spoken in the light, that your gratitude is the gateway, your alignment is the signal, your faith is the force. You remember that you do not beg for miracles, you welcome them. You do not chase what is yours. You receive it with a still and sacred heart. So walk gently now, knowing that all things are working together in perfect timing. Let your thoughts be soft but certain. Let your words be few but full of fire. Let your energy rise to meet what's already yours in the unseen. And above all, let your life become the living prayer, a quiet, constant unfolding of divine will made manifest. It is done in spirit, and so it begins in form.
The subconscious mind is the fertile soil of every man and woman's destiny. What is planted there, in faith and in imagination, must surely come forth in due season. The spoken word, clothed in conviction, is a seed that never returns void. Just as a garden flourishes with the right seeds, so does the life of an individual flourish when words of prosperity, abundance, and success are sown into the deep silence of the night. As you prepare for rest, you are entering into the secret chamber where all power is renewed. The conscious mind, with its worries and reasonings, begins to withdraw, and the inner self becomes receptive, like a still and waiting field. It is here that suggestion becomes creation. It is here that wealth and money, called forth by the law of divine supply, take root and prepare to manifest in your waking hours. Every fortune begins with an idea, and every idea is born in the unseen. That unseen is not far from you. It is the very substance that surrounds and fills you. The air you breathe, the silence of the night, the invisible currents of energy, all are alive with the possibility of increase. When you sleep, you do not struggle. You do not resist. You are open. And in that openness, wealth can be impressed upon your being as a reality already secured. Money is not a distant prize, but a vibration, a stream, a current always moving and always seeking expression. Many believe it is scarce, but in truth, it is infinite, and it flows according to the channels we prepare for it. Words of truth prepare those channels. Faith enlarges them. Gratitude clears them. And as these words are spoken, they move past the conscious barriers and plant themselves in the subconscious, where they cannot be lost. To fall asleep while hearing words of prosperity is to let your last waking thought be one of abundance, rather than lack. It is to close your eyes not in fear of tomorrow, but in certainty that tomorrow already holds provision. The universe is abundant, and wealth is as natural as the rising of the sun. When the farmer plants a seed, he does not doubt the harvest. In the same way, when you rest with wealth declared over your life, you align yourself with the law that never fails. The law of supply meeting demand, of thought becoming thing. Every debt is dissolved in this awareness. Every fear of money fades before the truth that riches are not created by labor alone, but by consciousness. Money is drawn to the one who expects it, who welcomes it, who blesses it as it comes and as it goes. In your sleep, you will be taught to expect it, to welcome it, to see yourself as one already enriched. As these words enter the stillness of your rest, know that they are not idle. They are living forces, shaping unseen substance into visible form. You need not strive, you need not chase, simply receive. Wealth is already yours, and as you sleep, it gathers itself to meet you upon waking. The subconscious mind is the secret workshop of creation, the unseen force that shapes every visible condition of life. It does not argue, it does not question. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition. When you feed it with thoughts of wealth, words of prosperity, and images of abundance, it responds with absolute obedience, rearranging circumstances and drawing to you that which corresponds to the seed you have sown. It is as if the subconscious is a faithful servant who takes the command of the conscious mind and fulfills it without hesitation. Yet many people misuse this power by impressing fear, doubt, and limitation upon it, and then they wonder why their lives seem to reflect struggle rather than success. To understand this law is to hold the key to transformation. When the conscious mind speaks in alignment with truth, when it declares wealth as present and money as plentiful, the subconscious accepts it as reality. It does not distinguish between truth or falsehood, between present possession or future hope. It simply takes the word as law and sets about making it manifest. This is why the spoken word, repeated as you drift into sleep, is so powerful. At that hour, the gatekeeper of the conscious mind grows quiet, and suggestion slips easily into the fertile soil of the subconscious. Just as a farmer places a seed in the ground, unseen and unobserved, so does the affirmation of wealth take root in the depths of being, ready to push through into visible form. The subconscious mind is unlimited in its resourcefulness. It knows where opportunities lie, it perceives connections you cannot consciously see, and it influences people and events in ways beyond ordinary understanding. Many call this coincidence or luck. Yet it is nothing more than the perfect orchestration of a subconscious that has been instructed to bring wealth into your experience. If poverty has appeared, it is only because the subconscious has been trained by words of lack, beliefs in scarcity, and feelings of fear. Change the seed, and the harvest must change. When wealth is spoken into it, when prosperity is declared as your rightful inheritance, the subconscious reorganizes everything to match that decree. Consider how automatic the subconscious is in directing the body. Without conscious effort, the heart beats, the lungs expand, the blood circulates. In the same way, when wealth is impressed upon it, the subconscious automatically directs actions, attracts ideas, and opens pathways without your deliberate planning. You may find yourself meeting the right person at the right time, discovering an opportunity unexpectedly, or being guided toward an idea that brings financial increase. These are not accidents but the faithful execution of commands planted in the inner mind. The great truth is that the subconscious cannot be left empty. It will always be at work, drawing experiences to you. If you do not feed it with wealth, it will simply echo the beliefs you have absorbed from the world. Beliefs in limitation, in struggle, in shortage. That is why it is essential to guard the words you speak, the images you hold, and especially the last thoughts before sleep. For in those quiet moments, the subconscious takes instruction, and throughout the night it labors to bring it forth. If you give it the word of prosperity, it works with precision to manifest prosperity. If you give it the word of lack, it manifests lack with the same fidelity. It does not choose, it obeys. The subconscious mind, when filled with wealth consciousness, becomes a magnet to money. Just as a magnet draws metal without effort, so does a mind rich in prosperity draw money and opportunity without struggle. This attraction is not based on toil or strain, but on vibration. Wealth is a vibration, money is a vibration, and when your inner mind accepts wealth as real, it radiates a frequency that calls forth the matching form. You cannot see the magnetic force, yet it works without fail. The subconscious, impressed with wealth, broadcasts that vibration continually, attracting circumstances that harmonize with it. It is also important to understand that the subconscious works only in the present. It does not operate with someday or tomorrow. It acts now. If you affirm that wealth will come, the subconscious hears only delay and postponement. But if you affirm that wealth is here, that abundance is present now, the subconscious accepts that as the current state and begins at once to make it visible. This is why words such as, "I am wealthy," "I have abundance," "money flows to me freely," are powerful. They declare the reality as already complete. The subconscious does not wait, it begins creating in this very moment. Impressing wealth on the subconscious requires more than idle repetition. It requires feeling. The words must be clothed with belief, with the emotion of certainty, with the vibration of gratitude. When you feel the truth of your words, the subconscious absorbs them deeply, for emotion is the language it understands best. Words without feeling are like seeds scattered on stone. They do not take root. But words spoken with conviction and felt as reality sink into the fertile soil and bring forth a harvest. To imagine yourself already in possession of money, to feel the joy of financial freedom, to rest in the certainty that provision is secured. This is how wealth becomes impressed upon the inner mind. Night after night, as you repeat the truth of abundance before sleep, you are steadily reshaping the patterns of your subconscious. Old beliefs of struggle begin to dissolve, and new beliefs of prosperity grow strong. It may not be visible immediately, but the process is as certain as the law of growth. The subconscious never fails to bring forth what is planted in it. Just as the farmer does not dig up the seed each morning to see if it has sprouted, so must you trust the unseen work of the subconscious. It is bringing forth wealth in its perfect time, in perfect ways, and in perfect measure. When you align your conscious word with the truth of wealth and impress it upon the subconscious, you are working with the most powerful force available to you. The outer world is but a reflection of the inner. Change the subconscious pattern, and the outer circumstances cannot resist changing. Every bill, every bank account, every opportunity begins to shift to match the new image of wealth you have planted within. This is the law, unfailing and exact. The subconscious is the servant of your word, and when that word is prosperity, it must deliver prosperity. Prosperity is not a rare event, not a prize for the fortunate few, not something to be wrestled from the hands of fate. Prosperity is a natural law, as natural as the rising of the sun. the flowing of rivers, the unfolding of a flower. The universe is rich beyond measure, filled with endless supply. And the same intelligence that created the stars, the seas, and the soil also created provision for every need of man. There is no lack in the divine order, only abundance seeking expression. To see prosperity as struggle is to misunderstand its very nature. The bird does not toil for its song, the tree does not strive for its blossoms, and the sun does not strain to shine. All act in harmony with the law of their being, and their supply flows without resistance. Prosperity for mankind is the same. Governed by the law of infinite supply, ready to unfold without struggle when the mind aligns with it. Many have been taught to believe that money is scarce, that wealth is hard won, that only through sweat and endless effort can one be provided for. This belief has been sound by generations who looked only at appearances and not at principle. Appearances may show poverty, but principle reveals abundance. Look at the earth and you will see evidence of it everywhere. The grains of sand upon the shore are without number. The stars in the night sky cannot be counted. The leaves on the trees renew themselves season after season without depletion. Creation is overflowing, generous, extravagant in its supply. That same extravagance is the truth of prosperity in human affairs. Wealth is not earned by struggle but claimed by alignment with the law that never fails. When one begins to recognize prosperity as law, fear begins to dissolve. Fear comes from the belief that there is not enough, that supply is uncertain, that one must compete or fight for limited resources. But in truth, there is no competition in divine law. What belongs to you cannot be taken, and what belongs to another cannot be claimed by you. Each person draws from the infinite storehouse according to their own consciousness, and no man's prosperity diminishes another's. The ocean does not run dry when one drinks a cup of water. The sky is not diminished when one candle is lit. So it is with money, wealth, and abundance. To believe otherwise is to hold a false idea, and that false idea creates struggle where none is required. Prosperity flows where it is welcomed, and it withdraws where it is resisted. Resistance comes through doubt, fear, and the belief that wealth is unnatural or undeserved. Yet the law is impartial. Just as gravity does not care who uses it, prosperity does not care who aligns with it. It simply flows according to belief. If one believes in scarcity, scarcity appears. If one believes in abundance, abundance appears. The law works with precision, without error, without favoritism. Prosperity is therefore not a gamble, not a chance occurrence, but the guaranteed result of aligning thought, word, and expectation with the truth of infinite supply. Struggle is born from separation. The belief that man is cut off from his source, left to earn, grasp, and scrape in order to survive. But man is never separated from source, any more than a ray of sunlight is separated from the sun. The current of prosperity flows ceaselessly, and to step into it requires only awareness and acceptance. When you accept that prosperity is natural, you cease struggling, and when you cease struggling, you allow the law to work unhindered. Strain and worry clog the channels through which abundance flows, but calm expectation opens them wide. To rest in the truth that prosperity is as natural as breath is to live without fear of tomorrow, for tomorrow must carry its own provision. Look at the lilies of the field. They do not labor, yet they are clothed in splendor. Look at the sparrows. They do not store in barns, yet they are fed. These are not idle sayings but demonstrations of the law in action. Nature is filled with proof that prosperity is not a struggle, but a constant, generous provision for all creation. Man, too, is part of this creation, not apart from it, and when he remembers this truth, his life begins to reflect the same effortless supply. Money is drawn in the same way the bee is drawn to the blossom. Naturally, without force, simply by being in alignment with its nature. Prosperity is a state of consciousness, not a bank balance. A person with wealth, consciousness can draw money easily, while one with poverty, consciousness may lose money no matter how much comes. To hold the idea of prosperity as natural is to shift the inner state, and when the inner state shifts, the outer world must follow. This is why affirmations, visualizations, and spoken words are so vital. They train the inner mind to accept prosperity as law. As the subconscious accepts this, actions, opportunities, and circumstances adjust accordingly. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold without effort, because the law is always working, and you have simply aligned yourself with it. Effort has its place, but effort alone is not the source of wealth. Many labor endlessly and remain in want, while others move with ease and draw riches. The difference lies in consciousness. To labor with the belief in scarcity is to struggle for little return. But to labor with the belief in prosperity is to see even small actions multiplied. Prosperity is not earned in sweat but revealed through alignment. Work can be a channel, but it is never the source. The source is infinite and unseen, and it supplies through countless avenues. When you know prosperity is natural, you release the tight grasp on one channel, and you open yourself to receive from many. The subconscious mind is the fertile soil of every man and woman's destiny. What is planted there, in faith and in imagination, must surely come forth in due season. The spoken word, clothed in conviction, is a seed that never returns void. Just as a garden flourishes with the right seeds, so does the life of an individual flourish when words of prosperity, abundance, and success are sown into the deep silence of the night. As you prepare for rest, you are entering into the secret chamber where all power is renewed. The conscious mind, with its worries and reasonings, begins to withdraw, and the inner self becomes receptive, like a still and waiting field. It is here that suggestion becomes creation. It is here that wealth and money, called forth by the law of divine supply, take root and prepare to manifest in your waking hours. Every fortune begins with an idea, and every idea is born in the unseen. That unseen is not far from you. It is the very substance that surrounds and fills you. The air you breathe, the silence of the night, the invisible currents of energy, all are alive with the possibility of increase. When you sleep, you do not struggle. You do not resist. You are open. And in that openness, wealth can be impressed upon your being as a reality already secured. Money is not a distant prize, but a vibration, a stream, a current always moving and always seeking expression. Many believe it is scarce, but in truth, it is infinite, and it flows according to the channels we prepare for it. Words of truth prepare those channels. Faith enlarges them. Gratitude clears them. And as these words are spoken, they move past the conscious barriers and plant themselves in the subconscious, where they cannot be lost. To fall asleep while hearing words of prosperity is to let your last waking thought be one of abundance, rather than lack. It is to close your eyes not in fear of tomorrow, but in certainty that tomorrow already holds provision. The universe is abundant, and wealth is as natural as the rising of the sun. When the farmer plants a seed, he does not doubt the harvest. In the same way, when you rest with wealth declared over your life, you align yourself with the law that never fails. The law of supply meeting demand, of thought becoming thing. Every debt is dissolved in this awareness. Every fear of money fades before the truth that riches are not created by labor alone, but by consciousness. Money is drawn to the one who expects it, who welcomes it, who blesses it as it comes and as it goes. In your sleep, you will be taught to expect it, to welcome it, to see yourself as one already enriched. As these words enter the stillness of your rest, know that they are not idle. They are living forces, shaping unseen substance into visible form. You need not strive, you need not chase, simply receive. Wealth is already yours, and as you sleep, it gathers itself to meet you upon waking. The subconscious mind is the secret workshop of creation, the unseen force that shapes every visible condition of life. It does not argue, it does not question. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition. When you feed it with thoughts of wealth, words of prosperity, and images of abundance, it responds with absolute obedience, rearranging circumstances and drawing to you that which corresponds to the seed you have sown. It is as if the subconscious is a faithful servant who takes the command of the conscious mind and fulfills it without hesitation. Yet many people misuse this power by impressing fear, doubt, and limitation upon it. And then they wonder why their lives seem to reflect struggle rather than success. To understand this law is to hold the key to transformation. When the conscious mind speaks in alignment with truth, when it declares wealth as present and money as plentiful, the subconscious accepts it as reality. It does not distinguish between truth or falsehood, between present possession or future hope. It simply takes the word as law and sets about making it manifest. This is why the spoken word, repeated as you drift into sleep, is so powerful. At that hour, the gatekeeper of the conscious mind grows quiet, and suggestion slips easily into the fertile soil of the subconscious. Just as a farmer places a seed in the ground, unseen and unobserved, so does the affirmation of wealth take root in the depths of being, ready to push through into visible form. The subconscious mind is unlimited in its resourcefulness. It knows where opportunities lie, it perceives connections you cannot consciously see, and it influences people and events in ways beyond ordinary understanding. Many call this coincidence or luck. Yet it is nothing more than the perfect orchestration of a subconscious that has been instructed to bring wealth into your experience. If poverty has appeared, it is only because the subconscious has been trained by words of lack, beliefs in scarcity, and feelings of fear. Change the seed, and the harvest must change. When wealth is spoken into it, when prosperity is declared as your rightful inheritance, the subconscious reorganizes everything to match that decree. Consider how automatic the subconscious is in directing the body. Without conscious effort, the heart beats, the lungs expand, the blood circulates. In the same way, when wealth is impressed upon it, the subconscious automatically directs actions, attracts ideas, and opens pathways without your deliberate planning. You may find yourself meeting the right person at the right time, discovering an opportunity unexpectedly, or being guided toward an idea that brings financial increase. These are not accidents but the faithful execution of commands planted in the inner mind. The great truth is that the subconscious cannot be left empty. It will always be at work, drawing experiences to you. If you do not feed it with wealth, it will simply echo the beliefs you have absorbed from the world. Beliefs in limitation, in struggle, in shortage. That is why it is essential to guard the words you speak, the images you hold, and especially the last thoughts before sleep. For in those quiet moments, the subconscious takes instruction, and throughout the night it labors to bring it forth. If you give it the word of prosperity, it works with precision to manifest prosperity. If you give it the word of lack, it manifests lack with the same fidelity. It does not choose, it obeys. The subconscious mind, when filled with wealth consciousness, becomes a magnet to money. Just as a magnet draws metal without effort, so does a mind rich in prosperity draw money and opportunity without struggle. This attraction is not based on toil or strain, but on vibration. Wealth is a vibration, money is a vibration, and when your inner mind accepts wealth as real, it radiates a frequency that calls forth the matching form. You cannot see the magnetic force, yet it works without fail. The subconscious, impressed with wealth, broadcasts that vibration continually, attracting circumstances that harmonize with it. It is also important to understand that the subconscious works only in the present. It does not operate with someday or tomorrow. It acts now. If you affirm that wealth will come, the subconscious hears only delay and postponement. But if you affirm that wealth is here, that abundance is present now, the subconscious accepts that as the current state and begins at once to make it visible. This is why words such as, "I am wealthy," "I have abundance," "money flows to me freely," are powerful. They declare the reality as already complete. The subconscious does not wait, it begins creating in this very moment. Impressing wealth on the subconscious requires more than idle repetition. It requires feeling. The words must be clothed with belief, with the emotion of certainty, with the vibration of gratitude. When you feel the truth of your words, the subconscious absorbs them deeply, for emotion is the language it understands best. Words without feeling are like seeds scattered on stone. They do not take root. but words spoken with conviction and felt as reality sink into the fertile soil and bring forth a harvest. To imagine yourself already in possession of money, to feel the joy of financial freedom, to rest in the certainty that provision is secured. This is how wealth becomes impressed upon the inner mind. Night after night, as you repeat the truth of abundance before sleep, you are steadily reshaping the patterns of your subconscious. Old beliefs of struggle begin to dissolve, and new beliefs of prosperity grow strong. It may not be visible immediately, but the process is as certain as the law of growth. The subconscious never fails to bring forth what is planted in it. Just as the farmer does not dig up the seed each morning to see if it has sprouted, so must you trust the unseen work of the subconscious. It is bringing forth wealth in its perfect time, in perfect ways, and in perfect measure. When you align your conscious word with the truth of wealth and impress it upon the subconscious, you are working with the most powerful force available to you. The outer world is but a reflection of the inner. Change the subconscious pattern, and the outer circumstances cannot resist changing. Every bill, every bank account, every opportunity begins to shift to match the new image of wealth you have planted within. This is the law, unfailing and exact. The subconscious is the servant of your word, and when that word is prosperity, it must deliver prosperity. Prosperity is not a rare event, not a prize for the fortunate few, not something to be wrestled from the hands of fate. Prosperity is a natural law, as natural as the rising of the sun, the flowing of rivers, the unfolding of a flower. The universe is rich beyond measure, filled with endless supply. And the same intelligence that created the stars, the seas, and the soil also created provision for every need of man. There is no lack in the divine order, only abundance seeking expression. To see prosperity as struggle is to misunderstand its very nature. The bird does not toil for its song, the tree does not strive for its blossoms, and the sun does not strain to shine. All act in harmony with the law of their being, and their supply flows without resistance. Prosperity for mankind is the same. Governed by the law of infinite supply, ready to unfold without struggle when the mind aligns with it. Many have been taught to believe that money is scarce, that wealth is hard won, that only through sweat and endless effort can one be provided for. This belief has been sown by generations who looked only at appearances and not at principle. Appearances may show poverty, but principle reveals abundance. Look at the earth and you will see evidence of it everywhere. The grains of sand upon the shore are without number. The stars in the night sky cannot be counted. The leaves on the trees renew themselves season after season without depletion. Creation is overflowing, generous, extravagant in its supply. That same extravagance is the truth of prosperity in human affairs. Wealth is not earned by struggle but claimed by alignment with the law that never fails. When one begins to recognize prosperity as law, fear begins to dissolve. Fear comes from the belief that there is not enough, that supply is uncertain, that one must compete or fight for limited resources. But in truth, there is no competition in divine law. What belongs to you cannot be taken, and what belongs to another cannot be claimed by you. Each person draws from the infinite storehouse according to their own consciousness, and no man's prosperity diminishes another's. The ocean does not run dry when one drinks a cup of water. The sky is not diminished when one candle is lit. So it is with money, wealth, and abundance. To believe otherwise is to hold a false idea, and that false idea creates struggle where none is required. Prosperity flows where it is welcomed, and it withdraws where it is resisted. Resistance comes through doubt, fear, and the belief that wealth is unnatural or undeserved. Yet the law is impartial. Just as gravity does not care who uses it, prosperity does not care who aligns with it. It simply flows according to belief. If one believes in scarcity, scarcity appears. If one believes in abundance, abundance appears. The law works with precision, without error, without favoritism. Prosperity is therefore not a gamble, not a chance occurrence, but the guaranteed result of aligning thought, word, and expectation with the truth of infinite supply. Struggle is born from separation. the belief that man is cut off from his source, left to earn, grasp, and scrape in order to survive. But man is never separated from source, any more than a ray of sunlight is separated from the sun. The current of prosperity flows ceaselessly, and to step into it requires only awareness and acceptance. When you accept that prosperity is natural, you cease struggling, and when you cease struggling, you allow the law to work unhindered. Strain and worry clog the channels through which abundance flows, but calm expectation opens them wide. To rest in the truth that prosperity is as natural as breath is to live without fear of tomorrow, for tomorrow must carry its own provision. Look at the lilies of the field. They do not labor, yet they are clothed in splendor. Look at the sparrows. They do not store in barns, yet they are fed. These are not idle sayings, but demonstrations of the law in action. Nature is filled with proof that prosperity is not a struggle, but a constant, generous provision for all creation. Man, too, is part of this creation, not apart from it, and when he remembers this truth, his life begins to reflect the same effortless supply. Money is drawn in the same way the bee is drawn to the blossom. Naturally, without force, simply by being in alignment with its nature. Prosperity is a state of consciousness, not a bank balance. A person with wealth, consciousness can draw money easily, while one with poverty, consciousness may lose money no matter how much comes. To hold the idea of prosperity as natural is to shift the inner state, and when the inner state shifts, the outer world must follow. This is why affirmations, visualizations, and spoken words are so vital. They train the inner mind to accept prosperity as law. As the subconscious accepts this, actions, opportunities, and circumstances adjust accordingly. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold without effort, because the law is always working, and you have simply aligned yourself with it. Effort has its place, but effort alone is not the source of wealth. Many labor endlessly and remain in want, while others move with ease and draw riches. The difference lies in consciousness. To labor with the belief in scarcity is to struggle for little return. But to labor with the belief in prosperity is to see even small actions multiplied. Prosperity is not earned in sweat but revealed through alignment. Work can be a channel, but it is never the source. The source is infinite and unseen, and it supplies through countless avenues. When you know prosperity is natural, you release the tight grasp on one channel, and you open yourself to receive from many. Consider the child who trusts without question that his needs will be met. He does not worry about supply, yet his needs are provided for. Prosperity works in much the same way. To enter into the childlike faith that abundance is natural is to release the strain of doubt. Prosperity then flows in quietly, steadily, without effort, for it has always been present, awaiting only your recognition. The struggle vanishes not because circumstances change first, but because the inner belief shifts first, and the outer must follow. When prosperity is seen as natural, you no longer plead for it, you no longer chase after it, you no longer fear its absence. You rest in the certainty that the law is unfailing. You declare wealth as present, and it appears. You give thanks for abundance, and more comes. You expect money to flow, and it flows. Not by struggle, but by the quiet operation of a law as certain as gravity, as precise as mathematics, as constant as the seasons. This is prosperity as it truly is, never a battle to win, but a law to accept, a truth to embody, and a natural flow that needs no strain. Words are living forces, and every word spoken with belief is a seed sown into the unseen field of consciousness. Just as the farmer casts seed into the soil and trusts the law of growth to do its perfect work, so do the words spoken in faith create channels through which money flows into life. These channels are not forced into existence by struggle, but are shaped naturally by the power of the spoken word. Every declaration of prosperity, every affirmation of wealth, every utterance of abundance is a blueprint given to the subconscious mind and to the unseen forces of supply. The words themselves are not empty sounds. They are commands, decrees, instructions that shape substance and set in motion the law of increase. When one says with conviction that money flows freely and easily, The very vibration of that word prepares a pathway. It directs attention to opportunities, opens the mind to receive ideas, and influences unseen conditions to bring about corresponding results. Words spoken in faith are not mere wishes or idle repetitions, they are creative forces that cannot return void. The subconscious accepts them as fact, and the universe responds by arranging circumstances to fulfill them. Just as a river carves its channel and water flows without effort, words carve out mental and spiritual channels through which wealth may pour. The greater the faith, the wider the channel, and the more abundant the flow. Many people unknowingly speak against their own prosperity by declaring lack, limitation, and hardship. Words of fear build channels of obstruction. Words of doubt construct barriers that block the flow of supply. When a person says, "I never have enough," the subconscious accepts this as instruction and faithfully creates conditions that match it. When one declares, "Money is scarce," the channel narrows and money struggles to enter. Yet the moment words of truth are spoken, words such as "I am rich in every good way," "Wealth flows constantly into my life," "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," a new channel is created, and the law of supply moves swiftly to fill it. It is not the effort behind the words, but the belief they carry that shapes reality. A single word spoken with deep conviction can outweigh 100 spoken without faith. The subconscious does not respond to empty speech, but to the emotional charge and certainty with which words are expressed. This is why it is essential not only to say words of prosperity, but to feel their truth as they are spoken. To say, "I am prosperous," with the vibration of gratitude and certainty, is to engrave that truth upon the subconscious and to establish a strong and clear channel for money to flow. The spoken word is a bridge between the seen and the unseen. It takes the invisible idea of prosperity and gives it shape, form, and energy in the realm of thought, where it can then manifest in the physical. Every word is a decree, whether for abundance or for lack. When the words are aligned with truth, with the law of infinite supply, they open channels for wealth to flow unhindered. When words contradict truth and affirm poverty, they shut down the flow and create blockages. The choice of words is the choice of channels, and the channels chosen will determine the flow experienced. Money itself is not the source of prosperity. It is only one form through which prosperity flows. The source is the infinite, the unseen, the inexhaustible supply of the universe. Words are the tools that shape the pathways through which this supply can reach you in tangible form. To continually speak words of prosperity is to continually widen and strengthen these pathways. To cease speaking them is to allow them to shrink and grow over with the weeds of doubt and fear. Constant use of the spoken word in alignment with prosperity keeps the channels open, fresh, and flowing. Faith gives life to the words. Without faith, words are lifeless and produce little. With faith, words are living seeds that must grow. The farmer does not doubt whether his seed will sprout. He plants and expects the harvest. In the same way, when words of wealth are spoken in faith, they must manifest in some form, for the law cannot be broken. The timing and the manner may differ from expectation, but the result is always the same. The word spoken in truth brings forth after its kind. Words of increase bring increase, words of abundance bring abundance, words of money bring money. Every spoken word sets a vibration into motion, and vibrations draw to themselves that which harmonizes with them. To declare, "I am open to receive money now," is to release a vibration that calls forth opportunities, ideas, and connections that align with receiving. To declare, "I cannot afford this," is to release a vibration that attracts more conditions of lack. The subconscious does not filter these statements, it simply obeys. The universe does not judge these vibrations, it simply responds. Thus, the wise choice of words becomes the wise choice of experience. Words of prosperity create expectancy, and expectancy is the magnet that draws supply. When you continually affirm wealth, your mind begins to anticipate it, your eyes begin to notice it, your actions begin to align with it, and your environment begins to reflect it. The expectancy itself becomes a wide channel, and money flows into it with ease. Words repeated day by day, night after night, shape the deep patterns of the subconscious until prosperity becomes the natural state of mind, and money flows as naturally as water through an open stream. The channel created by words is not limited to one avenue. When you speak in faith that money flows to you freely, you open yourself to countless sources. It may come through your work, through unexpected gifts, through opportunities, through ideas, through investments, through avenues unseen and unimaginable to the conscious mind. The words do not dictate how. It is the work of the law to provide the way. Your task is only to speak the truth with conviction, to keep the channels open, and to refuse to speak words that close them. Every word spoken in faith is a declaration of sovereignty, a claim upon the riches of the universe. The moment you declare, "Money comes to me easily," you have set in motion a current of energy that must return to you as experience. The more often this is spoken with faith, the stronger the current becomes, and the more naturally money finds its way into your life. Words are never wasted, every one produces after its kind. The wise use of words, therefore, is the wise use of prosperity. The careless use of words is the careless scattering of poverty. To fill the day with affirmations of wealth, to speak abundance in the morning, throughout the day, and before sleep, is to continually carve and widen the channels of supply. Each repetition deepens the pattern, strengthens the vibration, and secures the flow. Over time, the subconscious becomes so thoroughly impressed with wealth that it cannot conceive of lack, and in this state money must continually flow. This is the power of words spoken in faith. They do not merely describe reality, they create it, and they create it in exact proportion to the belief behind them. Gratitude and expectation are the two wings upon which abundance rises, the twin forces that open the heart and mind to receive wealth in its fullest measure. Gratitude is the acknowledgement that supply already exists, that provision is present, that the universe has already answered every need. Expectation is the confident anticipation that more is always on the way, that the flow of prosperity is unending, that tomorrow holds as much provision as today. When these two powers are joined together, they create a vibration so magnetic that wealth cannot resist it. Gratitude secures the present, expectation secures the future, and together they open an endless channel of abundance. To practice gratitude is to recognize prosperity, even in its smallest forms. The one who gives thanks for the dollar in his hand prepares the way for 10. The one who appreciates the meal before him prepares the way for a feast. Gratitude multiplies what it touches, for it is a signal to the subconscious and to the universe that you recognize and welcome the flow of supply. A grateful mind does not fix itself on what is missing, it sees what is present, and by seeing it, it increases it. Lack cannot remain in the presence of sincere gratitude, for gratitude continually affirms that supply is here, and what is affirmed grows. Expectation is the forward gaze of faith. It is the inner knowing that the stream of supply never runs dry, that every day brings new channels for money, that every opportunity is a doorway to more. Expectation is not wishful thinking, it is certainty clothed in anticipation. When you expect wealth, you behave as though it is already coming. You move with confidence, you make decisions without fear, you take actions that align with prosperity. This expectancy draws wealth with irresistible force, for the universe always responds to the vibration of belief. Where expectation is absent, doors may open and remain unseen. Where expectation is present, doors open and are eagerly walked through. Gratitude turns the mind toward abundance, and expectation keeps it there. A grateful person cannot dwell on lack, for his attention is filled with the evidence of supply. An expectant person cannot dwell on fear, for his heart is lifted by the certainty of more to come. These two states of mind dissolve worry, remove doubt, and silence the voice of limitation. Together, they form a continual affirmation: I am supplied, and I will always be supplied. This affirmation, spoken not only in words but in feeling, becomes the foundation of a prosperous life. Money is drawn to the atmosphere of gratitude and expectation. Just as a flower turns to the sun, wealth turns toward those who appreciate and anticipate it. Gratitude says to money, "You are welcome here." Expectation says to money, "I know you are always arriving." When these two are present, the flow cannot be hindered. Without them, even great riches may slip away. For the subconscious mind left untrained in gratitude and expectation will find ways to sabotage and repel wealth. Prosperity is not sustained by chance. It is sustained by the inner climate of thought and feeling, and gratitude with expectation create the richest climate of all. The practice of gratitude shifts the focus from what is missing to what is present, and the practice of expectation shifts the focus from fear of tomorrow to faith in tomorrow. Together, they keep the consciousness steady and open. Gratitude anchors the mind in the truth that abundance is here now. Expectation lifts the vision to the truth that abundance is always unfolding. Without gratitude, one may receive and fail to notice, and what is unacknowledged withers. Without expectation, one may give thanks for today but fear for tomorrow, and fear chokes the flow of supply. But with both, the flow is constant, secure, and ever increasing. Every expression of gratitude is a signal sent to the subconscious that prosperity is the reality, not lack. When this signal is repeated often, the subconscious arranges outer conditions to match it, bringing more and more evidence of wealth. Every act of expectation is a command that the unseen bring forth visible provision. The subconscious obeys this as well, guiding thoughts, actions, and circumstances toward financial increase. Gratitude and expectation are therefore not idle emotions. They are practical forces that move unseen substance into form. They are tools as exact and powerful as any law of nature, and when used together they guarantee abundance. Consider how a child receives with gratitude and expects without question. When given a gift, the child's delight multiplies the joy of the giver, and the child naturally anticipates more gifts to come. The child does not question whether provision will appear, he expects it as part of life. This childlike attitude is the essence of prosperity consciousness. To delight in what you already have is to multiply it, and to expect without doubt is to ensure its continual appearance. The adult mind, burdened with worry and disbelief, often forgets this truth, but the law has never changed. Gratitude and expectation still draw supply as effortlessly as they did in childhood. The atmosphere of gratitude and expectation not only attracts wealth, but also keeps it circulating freely. Money that is received with gratitude and spent with expectation always returns multiplied. To thank the universe for every dollar, and to release every dollar with the certainty that more will replace it is to live in perfect harmony with the law of circulation. Money flows where it is appreciated and multiplies where it is trusted. Fearful hoarding blocks the flow, careless spending ignores it, but grateful receiving and confident expecting enlarge it continually. Every morning is an opportunity to practice gratitude for the wealth already present, and expectation for the wealth on its way. Every night is an opportunity to reflect on the supply that has come and to anticipate more tomorrow. This daily practice shapes the subconscious into a permanent state of prosperity consciousness. Over time, the attitude of gratitude and expectation becomes so natural that lack cannot enter the mind, and when lack cannot enter the mind, it cannot appear in life. The inner state and the outer world always correspond, and when the inner state is one of gratitude and expectation, the outer world must mirror it with abundance. Gratitude softens the heart and expectation strengthens the will. Gratitude humbles, reminding you that supply is not of your making but of the infinite source. Expectation empowers, reminding you that you are an heir to that source and entitled to its riches. Gratitude keeps you open, expectation keeps you moving forward. Gratitude sees wealth in what already is, expectation sees wealth in what is to come. To live in both is to live in the continual flow of prosperity, where every need is met, every desire fulfilled, every fear dissolved. When gratitude and expectation become your constant companions, life takes on a rhythm of abundance. Opportunities appear naturally, money arrives in perfect timing, resources show up when needed. and you move through each day with the quiet assurance that supply is both present and forthcoming. This rhythm is not the product of chance but of alignment with the law. The law responds unfailingly to the vibration of gratitude and expectation, for together they declare the truth: abundance is now, and abundance is always. Wealth exists first in the unseen before it becomes visible, and it is always present, waiting only for recognition. The substance of prosperity surrounds every person at every moment, just as the air surrounds the body. It cannot be exhausted, it cannot be diminished, and it cannot be withheld. What keeps wealth from appearing is not its absence, but the failure to recognize and accept it. Just as the radio waves that fill the atmosphere are unheard until one tunes the receiver, so the riches of the universe remain unseen until one tunes the mind to the frequency of abundance. Recognition is the act of tuning in, the conscious decision to align with the truth that wealth already is. The unseen is the realm of cause, while the seen is the realm of effect. Every fortune, every flow of money, every opportunity originates in the unseen. The mind that holds the image of wealth, the heart that feels the joy of abundance, the word that declares prosperity, these are the seeds planted in the invisible soil of substance. In time, they must sprout into visible form, for the unseen is always pressing into visibility. Nothing can remain unexpressed when the channel is prepared. Recognition prepares the channel, and the moment you recognize wealth as already yours in the unseen, you begin to draw it into the seen. Most people look only to appearances, and when appearances show lack, they declare lack as their reality. But appearances are temporary shadows, while the unseen is eternal substance. To build belief upon appearances is to build upon sand, unstable and shifting. To build belief upon unseen truth is to build upon rock, unshakable and sure. The unseen wealth is more real than the balance in a bank account, for the account may change, but the substance of supply remains infinite. When you turn your attention from appearances of lack to the unseen presence of abundance, you shift the foundation of your life, and money begins to appear in ways you could not predict. Recognition is not passive observation but active faith. To recognize wealth is to declare it with certainty, to act as though it is present, to live in the vibration of possession before the outer proof arrives. The farmer recognizes the harvest the moment he plants the seed, though the field still looks bare. He acts in accordance with that recognition, watering, tending, and protecting the seed until it manifests. In the same way, recognition of wealth is the planting of inner certainty. You may not see the money yet, but you declare, "It is already mine in substance," and you act with confidence. This confidence itself is the magnet that draws the substance into form. The unseen wealth takes countless forms before it becomes money in hand. It may appear as an idea, an inspiration, a connection, a new path. To the one who does not recognize abundance, these may be overlooked. To the one who recognizes, every idea is a seed of fortune. Every encounter is a door, every circumstance is a channel. Recognition sharpens the vision so that you see opportunities where others see nothing. Recognition keeps the heart open so that you receive with gratitude what others might dismiss. Recognition ensures that no good is missed, for it is a continual affirmation: all that belongs to me comes to me now. Wealth in the unseen does not need to be created, for it already exists in fullness. It is not withheld by the universe, for the universe knows only generosity. The only barrier is unawareness. When you recognize abundance, you remove the barrier. Just as light fills a room the moment the shade is lifted, wealth flows into life the moment recognition is given. Recognition is the lifting of the shade of doubt, fear, and disbelief. It is the opening of the eyes to what has always been present. The substance of supply is infinite, and recognition allows it to pour into every area of life. Recognition is strengthened by imagination, for imagination allows you to see the unseen with clarity. When you imagine yourself surrounded by wealth, when you picture the life of abundance, when you feel the reality of financial freedom, you are not creating fantasy but recognizing truth. The unseen responds to imagination, for imagination is the language of the subconscious and the signal to the universe. Every vivid image of prosperity is an act of recognition, and the more often it is repeated, the stronger the channel becomes. Imagination aligned with recognition transforms invisible substance into visible supply. Gratitude also deepens recognition. To give thanks for money before it appears is to affirm that it already exists. To thank the universe for wealth unseen is to acknowledge that it is certain and present, even if not yet visible. Gratitude keeps the eyes fixed on substance rather than on appearance. It says, "I know it is here, and I rejoice in it now." This joyful recognition calls forth the manifestation more swiftly, for it leaves no room for doubt. Gratitude is the proof of recognition, and recognition without gratitude is incomplete. Together, they form the perfect state for abundance to flow. Expectation naturally follows recognition. When you recognize that wealth exists in the unseen, you expect its appearance in the seen. Expectation is not hope, which doubts, but certainty, which knows. Recognition says, "It is already mine." Expectation says, "It is coming into form." The two are inseparable. To recognize without expectation is to plant and never water. To expect without recognition is to wait without seed. But when recognition and expectation are joined, the harvest must come. The unseen is already rich with supply, and recognition is the act that claims it. When you live in recognition of unseen wealth, fear of lack disappears. You no longer see money as something fragile or scarce, for you know its source is infinite and invisible. You no longer cling desperately to what you have, for you know more is always present in substance, ready to appear. This freedom dissolves the chains of worry and replaces them with confidence. Confidence itself becomes a magnet to wealth, for it signals the subconscious and the universe that you are aligned with the law of supply. Wealth cannot help but respond, for it is already waiting in the unseen, eager to take form. Recognition transforms every moment into opportunity. Where others complain of shortage, you declare abundance. Where others see closed doors, you see hidden pathways. Where others despair, you expect provision. This difference of vision is the difference between poverty and prosperity, for life always mirrors belief. Recognition is belief in action. It does not demand, it does not beg, it does not strive, it simply knows. And in knowing, it makes visible that which has been invisible all along. Wealth in the unseen is constant, unchanging, ever present. Recognition is the key that unlocks it and calls it forth into the light of day. There is a divine law that governs all abundance, and this law is as precise as the rising of the sun. Money is not elusive, nor is it cruel. It is an obedient servant, awaiting the command of the soul that knows its own authority. The world teaches that supply is limited, that effort must be strained, and that only through struggle can one attain prosperity. But in truth, there exists one command, one simple decree of the Spirit, that can turn the tide of fortune and bring into manifestation a flood of wealth within the span of mere hours. We live not in a universe of lack, but in a universe of overflowing substance. Every dollar, every coin, every stream of prosperity is already prepared, already moving toward those who dare to speak with conviction. Just as the seed contains within itself the mighty tree, so does a single word contain within itself the power to draw riches from the unseen to the seen. The spoken word, clothed in unwavering faith, is the bridge from invisible supply to tangible manifestation. When a soul awakens to its authority, it ceases to beg, it ceases to wait, it ceases to question, it commands. And in commanding, it calls forth the hidden treasures of the universe. The mind that knows its dominion over circumstance no longer trembles before bills, debts, or obligations. Instead, it speaks the word, and money answers. It decrees the law, and substance rushes to obey. This is not imagination, nor wishful thinking. It is law immutable, eternal, and immediate when touched by the certainty of faith. One command, spoken with the fire of belief, has the power to unlock the vaults of heaven and pour forth streams of prosperity that seem miraculous to the doubter, but natural to the knower. Time, as we understand it, bends before the authority of spirit. 12 hours is but a moment in eternity, Yet it is enough for the unseen to crystallize into form. In those hours, opportunities appear, debts dissolve, channels open, and provision arrives. Money does not respond to fear, nor to desperation. It is deaf to anxiety, but it is quick, sharp, and eager to obey the words spoken in alignment with divine order. The individual who speaks this command does not plead or hope. They declare. And in declaring, they set the law into motion. They become a magnetized center through which abundance flows swiftly, effortlessly, and with precision. It is not toil that brings sudden wealth, but alignment. It is not struggle that brings huge money in a matter of hours, but certainty. The one who knows this command stands calm, serene, and confident. For they understand that the universe rushes to fulfill their decree the moment it is released. This is the secret of sudden supplies. The recognition that you are the voice through which infinite substance takes direction. With a single command, wealth hastens its steps, eager to clothe itself in form at your bidding. The spoken word carries within it a force that most people never fully recognize. Every word uttered is not a casual vibration in the air. It is a command sent into the invisible substance of life, shaping circumstances and drawing into form the things it names. Words are clothed with energy, and energy is never lost. Once spoken, a word sets into motion currents of power that begin at once to arrange conditions, people, and opportunities in harmony with its meaning. To speak is to decree, and to decree is to rule over the substance that makes up the seen and the unseen. The ancient wisdom has long declared that in the beginning was the Word, and from the Word all things were made. This is not a poetic statement. It is a literal key to the mystery of manifestation. Thought alone is powerful, yet thought unspoken remains like a seed unplanted. It contains the potential of the oak, but until it is placed in the soil, it cannot sprout. Words are the planting of thought into the soil of universal substance. The moment you speak, you set the invisible into action. Silent belief has strength, but spoken belief becomes law. Every affirmation, every declaration, whether conscious or unconscious, is a seed sown into the field of life. Many wonder why they see struggle, why they encounter lack, why disappointment circles them again and again. They forget that their own words have been commanding those very conditions. The tongue is a creative instrument. To speak of poverty, fear, or limitation is to invite it closer. To declare wealth, joy, and certainty is to summon them swiftly. There is no neutrality in speech, for every word tilts the balance either toward abundance or toward lack. The individual who understands the power of the spoken word becomes a careful guardian of their speech. They cease to speak idle words, words of complaint, words of fear, words of doubt. Instead, they measure their speech with precision, knowing that each utterance is a brushstroke on the canvas of their reality. They understand that speech is not only expression but creation. They speak, and in speaking they form. They command, and in commanding they establish. Words carry vibration, and vibration draws to itself like vibration. When the word is spoken with conviction, it becomes magnetic. A word charged with faith carries far more weight than 1,000 words spoken carelessly. It is not the length of speech, but the intensity of belief that clothes a word with power. A short command, spoken with absolute certainty, can pierce the invisible and bring forth results in astonishing speed. Faith acts as the fire, and the word is the spark carried on that flame. Together they ignite the substance of life into form. Money itself is sensitive to the word, though many treat it as an elusive object. Money is in truth a vibration, a current of energy that responds swiftly to the commands of speech. When you declare that money flows freely, doors of opportunity open, channels are cleared, and the very atmosphere around you is charged with provision. When you complain that money is scarce, you are declaring scarcity, and the law obeys by closing doors, blocking channels, and arranging lack. Money follows words as faithfully as a shadow follows form. The one who learns to direct words with intention understands that speech is never casual. Words spoken lightly still bear fruit, though often the fruit is bitter. To say, "I cannot afford, I never have enough, money is hard to come by," is to set decrees that the universe must honor. Words are commands. They do not question the speaker's awareness. They simply bring forth that which is spoken, with impartial obedience. The universe is literal. It does not interpret jokes, sarcasm, or exaggeration. It only hears and it only creates. To harness this power, one must speak with the authority of one who knows. Authority does not plead, nor does it ask timidly. It declares. A declaration leaves no room for wavering. It is firm, steady, absolute. When a word is spoken with such force, the invisible immediately sets to work. Conditions shift, unseen help arrives, channels open, and substance hastens into form. Those who understand this law do not waste time wondering how it will happen. They speak, and they trust the law to arrange the details. The tongue has been called a sword, and rightly so, for it cuts through appearances. Appearances may show lack, but a word can slice through that illusion and establish supply. Appearances may show sickness, but a word can declare wholeness and dissolve the illusion. Appearances may whisper failure, but a word can roar success and scatter defeat. The sword of the word is not wielded in violence but in calm authority. It is not the shout that carries power, but the certainty behind the utterance. A quiet word spoken in faith can overturn the loudest fear. The atmosphere around each individual is filled with words they have spoken in the past. These words hang like seeds waiting to sprout, and many are living today in the harvest of yesterday's speech. If one desires a different harvest, they must sow different words. To speak abundance today is to plant abundance tomorrow. To declare prosperity now is to arrange for prosperity in the hours ahead. Words set cycles into motion, and cycles unfailingly return their fruit. When the spoken word is combined with imagination and faith, its power becomes multiplied. To see inwardly while declaring outwardly is to double the decree. The word sends the command, the image gives it form, and faith gives it substance. Together they weave reality as swiftly as lightning splits the sky. The individual who uses all three with precision becomes a master of manifestation. And money, health, success, and joy all respond to their decree with remarkable speed. The law of the spoken word is not bound by time. It does not recognize hours, days, or weeks. It only responds to the command. A word spoken in true faith can compress time, bringing into hours what others struggle for in years. This is why sudden wealth, sudden opportunity, sudden change are not miracles. They are simply the swift obedience of substance to the power of a word spoken with authority. Faith is the activator of supply, because without faith the spoken word is hollow, empty, and powerless. Faith is the invisible current that electrifies the command and compels the universe to obey. It is not mere hope, not wishful thinking, not a timid desire that trembles at appearances. Faith is a fierce knowing, a quiet certainty that what is spoken must be established because the law cannot fail. Faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the hidden and the revealed, the eternal and the temporal. When faith is present, time shortens, channels widen, and the impossible dissolves before the authority of spirit. There are those who speak words yet see no result. Not because the law has failed, but because the words were spoken without the breath of faith. Words without faith are like arrows without a bow. They fall before reaching their mark. Faith is the force that sends them flying, piercing through every obstacle and striking the center of manifestation. The universe is impartial, but it is not moved by doubt. It does not respond to hesitation, it does not bend to uncertainty. Only faith, unshaken and resolute, activates the law so that supply appears where none seemed possible. Faith is the assurance that substance is ever present, regardless of outer appearances. To the eye there may be emptiness, but to faith there is only fullness awaiting recognition. To the ear, there may be silence, but to faith there is the music of supply drawing near. Faith looks beyond the visible and sees with the vision of spirit. It calls that which is not as though it already is, and because it calls with certainty, it appears. When one declares wealth with wavering, they repel it. When one declares wealth with faith, they magnetize it. Faith is the magnet, drawing to itself the riches that already exist in the invisible storehouse of the universe. Faith does not consult with reason, for reason is bound to the visible. Reason calculates, measures, and limits. Faith transcends limitation, knowing that supply is infinite and unbound. Reason asks, "How can this be done in 12 hours?" Faith replies, "It is already done." Reason counts the coins in the purse. But faith declares that substance cannot be counted, for it is endless and ever replenishing. The one who leans on reason remains in the cycle of lack, but the one who clings to faith walks into sudden abundance. Faith does not strain, for strain is a sign of fear. Faith is effortless, calm, serene. It rests in the certainty that what is declared must come, for the law cannot betray itself. Faith is not anxious, for anxiety is born of mistrust. Faith is not impatient, for impatience is rooted in doubt. Faith is a steady flame that burns without flicker, illuminating the path even when appearances show darkness. This steady flame is what turns words into living power. Without it, words vanish into emptiness. With it, words shape reality with precision and speed. When faith is joined to the spoken word, supply answers instantly. Faith is like the key that unlocks the vault. The vault is always there, filled with treasure, but until the key is used, it remains closed. Words are the knocking, but faith is the hand that opens the door. Many have spoken wealth and seen nothing, for they knocked without the hand of faith to open. But when faith is present, the vault swings wide, and riches pour forth in ways that astound the reasoning mind. Faith must be pure, untainted by contradiction. To declare wealth with faith in one moment and speak doubt in the next is to scatter the harvest. A divided word cannot stand. The one who commands must remain steadfast, guarding the tongue against contradiction. Faith does not waver between two opinions. Faith declares once, and then stands unmoved, unshaken, unbothered by delay or by appearances. It does not chase results, it knows results must chase it. This calm assurance is the mark of true faith, and it is this calm assurance that activates supply with speed. The measure of faith is not in volume or emotion, but in certainty. A whisper spoken in faith carries more weight than a shout spoken in fear. Faith is not loud, it is solid. It does not need to convince itself, for it already knows. Faith is like a seed that rests in the ground without struggle, knowing it must grow. It does not push or strain, it simply knows that the law of life must fulfill itself. This knowing is what moves substance into form. Faith is not blind, it is vision beyond sight. It does not ignore appearances but looks through them. It sees lack and declares supply, not because it refuses to see, but because it sees deeper. It sees the invisible abundance behind the visible void. Faith is the eyes of spirit, and with those eyes, one perceives riches where others see only poverty. With those eyes, one speaks with authority, commanding supply to appear, and it comes because it was always there, waiting for recognition. Faith is contagious. When one stands in true faith, the atmosphere shifts, others sense it, and conditions align. Opportunities are drawn to the individual whose faith is alive, for faith emits a vibration that substance cannot resist. It is as though the whole universe bends toward the one who believes. People appear with the right resources, ideas spring forth in perfect timing, doors open that were thought closed. These are not accidents. They are the visible response to invisible faith. Faith is not something to be acquired from outside, it is the natural inheritance of the soul. It is the recognition of divine order, the remembrance that the universe is governed by law, and that law responds to the command of the word clothed in belief. Every individual carries this power within, yet most bury it beneath fear, doubt, and reasoning. To awaken faith is simply to uncover what has always been present, the certainty that life is abundant, and that supply answers swiftly to the one who knows it must. Money is an obedient servant, never a master, and it waits for direction from the one who knows their authority. Too many place money on a throne, bowing before it, chasing after it, fearing its absence, clinging desperately to its presence. In truth, money is not power in itself, it is only substance in motion, energy clothed in form. Shaped and commanded by the words and beliefs of the individual, It does not lead, it follows. It does not command, it obeys. It is never the ruler but always the servant, eager to take shape in whatever pattern the consciousness provides. When a person believes money to be scarce, money obeys and withdraws. When a person believes money to be abundant, money obeys and multiplies. When a person fears that money will vanish, money responds by disappearing. When a person declares that money flows freely, money hastens to prove the truth of the decree. It has no will of its own, no purpose apart from the one assigned to it. Like a faithful servant, it takes the command and carries it out without hesitation. The tragedy of many lives is that they have handed the reins of power to money, believing it to control their destiny. They see it as a master, harsh and unpredictable, rewarding some and punishing others. This illusion binds them to lack, because what one fears becomes a master. The individual who fears money's absence gives money authority over their peace, their joy, their choices. Yet the moment one recognizes that money is only an obedient servant, the chains fall. One realizes that they have always been the master, always the one issuing commands, even if unconsciously. Words and thoughts are the instructions given to this servant. To speak of bills, debts, and difficulty is to hand money in order to restrict itself. To speak of wealth, generosity, and plenty is to instruct money to increase its flow. The servant has no choice but to follow. It does not interpret, it does not argue, it does not resist. It simply acts, reflecting precisely what is spoken and believed. Money is impartial. It does not decide who deserves it, nor does it withhold itself based on character. It moves wherever it is commanded, as fire burns for both the wise and the unwise, as rain falls on both the righteous and the unrighteous. This impartiality is law. Those who understand it do not beg for money to appear, they command it, for they know it cannot deny the voice of authority. Those who treat money as master beg, fear, and wait in endless frustration, not realizing they are speaking commands that keep their servant bound. The servant nature of money is revealed in how quickly it responds to clarity. When one makes a firm, faith-filled declaration about its presence, channels open seemingly out of nowhere. The supply may appear through expected means or through sudden opportunities, but it appears nonetheless, because the servant has heard and obeyed. When one hesitates, contradicts, or speaks doubt, money is confused, uncertain which order to follow, and the flow stalls. Clear commands produce clear results, wavering commands produce confusion. To treat money as servant is to treat it with respect but never with worship. The master does not abuse the servant, nor do they diminish it. But they never bow to it either. They use it wisely, direct it with purpose, and let it serve their higher vision. Money flows in greatest abundance to those who know it is simply a tool, a helper, a channel of expression for the greater substance of life. Those who idolize it repel it, for money will not remain where it is worshipped as master. It comes swiftly, willingly, and obediently to the one who knows their dominion. The moment a person begins to command money instead of fearing it, their life changes. Doors that seemed shut suddenly open, debts that seemed impossible dissolve, opportunities that seemed far away arrive with ease. The servant has only been waiting for clear instructions. It was never absent, never unwilling. It was merely reflecting the orders it had been given through words of fear and doubt. The instant those words are replaced with declarations of abundance, money changes its direction. Money is not attracted to strain or desperation. A servant does not respond to panic, it responds to calm direction. The frantic one pushes money away with their scattered energy, while the calm one draws it near with steady command. To stand in serenity while issuing instructions is to show mastery, and the servant responds to mastery with eagerness. Money flows where it is directed by authority, not where it is chased in fear. Understanding money as servant removes guilt from desiring it. One does not feel guilty for using a tool, nor for instructing a helper to fulfill a task. Money is no different. It exists to serve, to flow, to enable expression. To reject it is to reject the service it can provide. To embrace it as servant is to allow it to take its rightful place as obedient supply. In this recognition, money begins to move freely, without resistance, for it is no longer burdened with false power. The laws of life demand that money serve the one who commands with faith. It cannot resist, for it is bound to obey. The servant does not ask when or how, it simply acts. If commanded to appear within hours, it hastens. If commanded to multiply, it expands. If commanded to flow endlessly, it opens streams that never run dry. The authority lies not in the servant, but in the one issuing the command. To understand this is to stand in dominion over circumstances that once seemed overwhelming. Money reflects the consciousness of its master. In the hands of one who knows abundance, it multiplies. In the hands of one who fears lack, it diminishes. In the hands of one who loves wisely, it blesses. In the hands of one who clings desperately, it slips away. Always it obeys, never it resists. It has no choice. For it is not alive in itself, but animated only by the power of the spoken word and the belief behind it. The servant nature of money means it is never the goal but the vehicle. It is never the source but the channel. It is never the master but the obedient assistant. When this truth is fully accepted, one no longer wastes time fearing its loss or straining for its gain. They stand in authority, they issue commands, and they watch the servant carry them out with precision. This is the law of supply, unchanging, unfailing, and immediate when understood. Command over circumstance is the recognition that life itself is not meant to dictate terms to you, but to respond to the authority of your word. Circumstances are appearances, shifting shadows, temporary forms that mirror the inner state of belief. They are not fixed, they are not final. They are not masters. They are clay in the hands of consciousness, ready to be reshaped at the moment a firm command is given. The individual who understands this truth no longer trembles at outer conditions, for they know those conditions are only the outpicturing of yesterday's commands. And today's word has the power to sweep them away and create a new order. The mistake many make is bowing to circumstances as though they hold dominion. They look at empty purses, at unpaid bills, at doors closed to opportunity, and they surrender, believing that what is seen is final. But circumstances are nothing more than obedient reflections of thought and speech. To bow before them is to hand away authority, to allow the shadow to control the substance. When one rises in the awareness of their dominion, they cease to ask permission of circumstances. They issue commands, and circumstances rearrange themselves to obey. The spoken word, clothed with faith, is law over condition. Appearances may scream lack, yet one command of abundance spoken with certainty forces the law to act. Appearances may whisper defeat, yet one command of victory compels circumstances to align. It is not the outer that dictates the inner, it is the inner word that governs the outer. Those who understand this secret walk in calm assurance, for they know they need not wrestle with appearances. They simply speak, and appearances bend. Circumstances are malleable. They are like water taking the shape of whatever vessel consciousness provides. If the vessel is one of fear, circumstances take the form of obstacles, debts, and delay. If the vessel is one of faith, circumstances take the form of opportunity, provision, and speed. The law is impartial, reflecting whatever command it receives, never questioning, never resisting. This is why command must be firm and unwavering. To issue a weak command is to send a servant without direction. To issue a strong command is to send it forth with precision, and the universe hastens to obey. Command is not loudness or force of personality. It is not the noise of desperation. True command is quiet authority, calm certainty, the still voice that knows it cannot be denied. To speak in fear is to plead, but to speak in authority is to declare. Declarations are the language of command, and when spoken in faith they carry the weight of law. The individual who declares does not wait to see if it will be obeyed. They know it already is. They act as master, and the law of life rushes to fulfill their decree. Every circumstance carries within it the seed of transformation, waiting for command. The empty purse waits for the command of fullness. The closed door waits for the command of opening. The stagnant situation waits for the command of movement. Nothing remains fixed unless the master of the word leaves it unchallenged. To accept conditions as they are is to issue a silent command that they remain. To speak a new condition is to call forth the hidden abundance already present, waiting to take form at the sound of the word. Circumstances test not to break, but to reveal the level of authority exercised. Those who falter at appearances show that they have placed faith in the shadow rather than the substance. Those who stand firm and speak the word in the face of contradiction reveal mastery. The more impossible the circumstance seems, the more glorious the demonstration of command when it yields. Circumstances exist to be commanded, and the one who knows this never fears delay, obstacle, or lack. They see each condition as pliable material, ready to be reshaped by their decree. Command over circumstance is not an act of aggression but of alignment. The command does not come from human will alone, but from union with divine law. When the individual speaks in alignment with truth, their word carries infinite backing. They are not forcing life to obey. They are declaring what life already is in its essence. Supply is already present, health is already complete, success is already established. The command simply clears away the illusion and allows the reality to appear. The outer world mirrors the inner command with absolute faithfulness. If chaos is within, chaos appears without. If order is within, order manifests without. If wealth is affirmed within, wealth takes form without. The law is mechanical in its accuracy, never failing, never making exception. To change circumstances, one need only change the command. The moment a new decree is spoken with faith, the invisible begins to rearrange, and the visible must follow. It cannot resist, for it has no power of its own apart from the consciousness directing it. Those who practice command find that circumstances shift with astonishing speed. What seemed solid and immovable gives way overnight. What seemed delayed suddenly accelerates. What seemed blocked opens in unexpected ways. The universe is plastic to the word of authority, and it responds with swiftness to the voice that knows it is master. The world may call these changes miracles, but in truth they are the natural obedience of substance to command. Command over circumstance liberates the individual from fear. They no longer tremble at bills, obstacles, or setbacks. They no longer ask what will happen if conditions worsen. They no longer waste energy trying to control every detail in the outer. They rest in the certainty that command governs all. They issue the word, and they know the word is law. They do not need to chase after circumstances, for circumstances are already chasing to fulfill their decree. The power to command is not reserved for a few, it is the natural authority of every soul. Yet most live as though powerless, speaking carelessly, pleading rather than declaring, yielding to appearances rather than commanding them. The moment they recognize their dominion, their words gain weight, and circumstances yield like clay in the potter's hand. The individual who commands does not ask whether life will provide, they know it must. They do not hope for change, they declare it. They do not wait for permission, they exercise authority. Command is the true language of mastery. It is not arrogant, it is not forceful, it is not born of pride. It is born of certainty in the law of life, certainty that substance obeys the spoken word, certainty that appearances are only shadows. To command over circumstance is to step into one's rightful place as master of the visible through union with the invisible. It is to take hold of the authority always present but seldom used. Alignment, not struggle, is the secret of manifestation. For life does not yield its treasures to force or frantic effort, but to harmony with divine law. The universe is not moved by exhaustion, nor by sweat, nor by strain. It is moved by the clear, calm words spoken in alignment with truth. Struggle is the language of fear, alignment is the language of mastery. When one struggles, they confess through action that supply is distant, difficult, or unwilling. When one aligns, they recognize that supply is already present, already flowing, already waiting for recognition. Struggle pushes abundance away, alignment draws it near. The idea that money or success must be wrung from the universe through toil is an illusion born of ignorance. Substance does not respond to pressure. It responds to clarity. The farmer does not strain to force a seed to grow. He aligns with the law of growth by placing the seed in the soil, watering it, and trusting the process. So too does the individual align with the law of supply. They speak the word, they stand in faith, and they allow the law to unfold. To strain is to disturb the soil, to uproot the seed, to block the natural process. To align is to rest in the certainty that the law cannot fail. Alignment begins with the recognition that there is no separation between the individual and supply. Struggle is born of the belief that supply is far away, withheld, or difficult to reach. Alignment knows that supply is immediate, infinite, and inseparable from the self. To say, "I must fight for money," is to declare distance and difficulty. To say, "I am one with endless supply," is to declare alignment, and alignment manifests swiftly. Struggle delays by affirming lack. Alignment hastens by affirming abundance. Alignment is not passivity but precise action. The aligned individual does not sit idly, waiting without direction. They listen inwardly, they receive intuitive guidance, and they act in harmony with that guidance. Their actions are efficient. Their steps are sure, because they are carried by the current of divine law. The struggler acts blindly, hoping that frantic motion will produce results. The aligned one acts calmly, knowing that each movement is divinely directed. The struggler wastes energy, the aligned one multiplies results. In alignment, time compresses. What others accomplish through years of struggle can be accomplished in hours by one who is aligned. This is not because they are more deserving, but because they have ceased to oppose the law with doubt, fear, and contradiction. They have placed themselves in the flow of substance, and substance rushes to manifest. The struggler stands against the current, exhausting themselves in resistance. The aligned one moves with the current, carried swiftly to manifestation. Alignment requires inner order. To speak abundance while inwardly holding fear is misalignment. To declare prosperity while secretly doubting is misalignment. Words and thoughts must be in harmony for the command to carry power. When thought affirms lack and speech declares wealth, the signals conflict, and the universe reflects confusion. But when thought, speech, and feeling are united in faith, the command is perfect, and manifestation follows with precision. Alignment is not partial agreement, but complete harmony between the inner and the outer word. The atmosphere of alignment is peace. The aligned one does not wrestle with appearances, does not chase after results, does not argue with circumstance. They stand still in the knowing that the law is already at work. Peace itself is a magnet for supply, for peace proves trust, and trust activates the law. Struggle emanates fear, and fear scatters supply. Peace emanates certainty, and certainty draws abundance like iron to a magnet. The calm master of words manifests more in moments of alignment than the struggler does in years of labor. Alignment is a surrender not to weakness but to law. To surrender struggle is not to abandon effort but to abandon resistance. The aligned one does not resist appearances with anxiety, they overrule them with command. They do not resist delay with fear, they shorten it with faith. They do not resist lack with panic, they dissolve it with declaration. Resistance feeds the appearance, alignment dissolves it. By aligning with divine law, one calls forth substance to act immediately, because the law is never inactive, never unwilling, never distant. The greatest works of manifestation have never been born of struggle but of alignment. Wealth flows to the one who aligns inwardly before acting outwardly. Opportunities appear to the one who listens inwardly before moving outwardly. Success crowns the one who speaks in harmony with law rather than fighting against shadows. Struggle belongs to the one who believes life is an enemy to be conquered. Alignment belongs to the one who knows life is a servant to be directed. The struggler spends their strength in battle, the aligned one spends their word in command. To align with abundance is to see it as natural, inevitable, and immediate. The struggler sees wealth as extraordinary, rare, or unfairly distributed. The aligned one sees wealth as law, as the natural state of the universe, as the rightful inheritance of every soul. In this recognition, money flows easily, because it is no longer resisted by disbelief. To see abundance as natural is to invite it, to see it as unnatural is to reject it. Alignment is agreement with the truth that supply is endless. Struggle is argument against that truth, and every argument delays manifestation. Alignment is also gratitude, for gratitude proves recognition of abundance. The struggler complains, and complaint commands lack to persist. The aligned one gives thanks even before supply appears, knowing that their word is already law in the unseen. Gratitude in advance is alignment, and it multiplies supply by affirming its certainty. Gratitude after manifestation is acknowledgement, but gratitude before manifestation is command. The one who thanks in advance aligns with the law, and the law rushes to fulfill their thanksgiving. The struggle mentality asks, what if it does not come? The aligned mentality says, it is already here. Struggle begs, pleads, and bargains, as though supply must be convinced. Alignment speaks with authority, as though supply cannot resist. Struggle is rooted in fear of lack. Alignment is rooted in recognition of fullness. Struggle sees absence and fights to fill it. Alignment sees presence and declares it into form. This difference in perspective determines the speed of manifestation. The rhythm of alignment is effortless flow. It is like a river carrying the boat without strain. The struggler rows furiously against the current, exhausting themselves with little progress. The aligned one releases the oars, sets the direction with command, and lets the current carry them. The river does not resist. It was always meant to carry. The universe does not resist. It was always meant to provide. Struggle is an attempt to do with human force what the law of life accomplishes with ease. Alignment allows the law to act, and the results appear with astonishing speed. Beloved, we stand at the doorway of a season radiant with promise, for September ushers in a tide of abundance that flows swiftly and surely. Large sums are coming, and they come not as a trickle but as a river overflowing its banks. Life itself is a great giver, always seeking to pour blessings upon those who open their hands in faith and expectation. The mind that believes in lack sees only scarcity, yet the soul attuned to divine supply beholds harvest where others see emptiness. September is not simply a month upon the calendar. It is an emblem of fruition, the gathering in of that which has been planted long before. When one lives in harmony with divine law, every need is met before it is spoken, and every desire of the heart is already answered in the invisible. Large sums come not by striving, nor by anxious labor, but by alignment with the infinite source. It is the invisible currents that carry our ships into harbors of prosperity. To doubt these currents is to anchor in shallow waters, but to trust them is to sail forth boldly, knowing the tide is already set in our favor. September whispers of trust fulfilled, of promises ripened, of treasures that have waited patiently to reveal themselves. Money is not a cold and distant thing. It is energy, alive, responsive, eager to serve the soul that calls it forth without fear or hesitation. When we speak words of faith, we command this energy into form, shaping it into the currency of opportunity, the security of provision, the joy of unexpected gifts. Large sums are coming, and they come easily, for nothing resists the one who stands firm in the knowing that supply is endless. As the leaves turn golden, so too does the field of consciousness turn to gold, reflecting the richness already within. Many look to September as the closing of a season, yet in truth it is a great opening. The air shifts, and with it the vibration of plenty moves more swiftly into manifestation. The heart that has long prepared in silence will find itself rewarded with sudden harvest. Large sums appear through avenues unimagined, through channels never considered, through doors that seem to open of their own accord. The universe delights in surprising the expectant soul, delivering abundance in ways that leave no doubt of divine orchestration. Fear says, "It cannot be done," but faith replies, "It is already done." The coming of large sums is not a future promise but a present reality awaiting recognition. Just as fruit ripens unseen before it appears on the branch, so too has supply already been prepared in the unseen, waiting for the moment of unveiling. September is that unveiling, the month when the invisible becomes visible, when the long-awaited supply steps forth boldly into the light of our lives. Large sums are coming, not by chance but by law, and the law cannot fail. Large sums flow by divine law, not struggle. This truth overturns the common belief that wealth must be wrestled from the world through constant toil, worry, and endless striving. The human mind, conditioned by centuries of fear, often equates abundance with hard labor, with long hours, with sacrifice and depletion. Yet the divine design was never built upon exhaustion. The law of supply is as certain as the law of gravity, and once understood, it functions with ease and precision, bringing prosperity to those who align with it. Struggle is a distortion, a fog created by the belief in separation from the source. When one believes they are disconnected from the infinite reservoir, they cling to effort as though it were the only rope holding them to survival. But survival is not the divine promise, fulfillment is. Plenty is not earned in sweat alone but in thought, in spoken word, in alignment with the universal law that says abundance flows where faith abides. To understand this law, one must first recognize that the universe is ordered, not chaotic. Every leaf on a tree unfolds according to pattern. Every wave upon the shore follows rhythm. Every star holds to its orbit. There is no strain in this perfection. The sun does not struggle to rise. The river does not wrestle to flow. The seed does not agonize to break forth from the soil. Life is sustained by effortless law, and abundance is part of that law. Money, wealth, opportunities, resources, all are streams within the great river of supply. They are not generated by frantic pursuit, but drawn into one's experience by magnetic alignment with truth. Just as a magnet pulls iron without effort, so too does the soul aligned with divine law draw wealth without strain. The false belief that one must chase money, beg for it, manipulate for it, or fear its absence, places the individual outside the rhythm of law. But the one who sees that abundance is already guaranteed, who affirms that large sums are flowing here and now, steps into the stream where wealth naturally rushes forth. Struggle is often celebrated in the world as noble, yet it is a sign of disconnection from law. The ant builds its hill without despair. The bee gathers nectar without complaint. The planet spins without resistance. The same ease that governs creation governs prosperity. When one holds thoughts of fear, lack, and limitation, the flow is dammed. But when one releases fear and rests in the knowing that divine law is unfailing, the dam breaks and abundance pours forth in torrents. The effort required is not physical strain but mental discipline, the watchfulness to guard thought and word against the poison of doubt. The struggle most people endure is not with the outer world, but with their own inner disbelief. They toil outwardly because they cannot yet believe inwardly. But once faith becomes established, outer toil fades, replaced by inspired action. Action that feels light, guided, and fruitful. This is the difference between working against the tide and sailing with it. Large sums flow by divine law because supply is infinite. Just as the ocean cannot be emptied by 1,000 vessels drawing water at once, so too the divine reservoir cannot be diminished by the demands of millions. Every soul is connected to this endless source, and lack exists only in perception, never in reality. Struggle arises when individuals fight over appearances, clinging to the illusion that resources are scarce. Yet when one understands the law, they see that wealth does not come from limited appearances, but from the unseen source, the origin of all. To depend solely upon visible channels is to invite worry, for channels dry up and change. But to depend upon law is to stand secure, for the law never alters. Large sums may arrive through jobs, through gifts, through opportunities, through channels beyond imagination, but the channel is never the supply. The law is the supply. To struggle for money is to cling to channels. To align with law is to rest in the certainty that new channels will always open. The law works through belief, through spoken word, through expectation. When one affirms with unwavering conviction that large sums of money are flowing to them, the law is set in motion. Struggle is eliminated because there is no need to force manifestation into being. It is already being drawn by the vibration of faith. Just as a seed planted in good soil cannot help but grow, so too does affirmation planted in faith produce its harvest. The seed does not struggle to become a tree, it unfolds naturally according to law. So does wealth unfold naturally when planted in the soil of belief. The world may scoff and insist that only toil produces riches, but the one who understands law knows that toil without faith leads only to more toil, while faith without struggle draws effortless supply. Consider how often wealth comes unexpectedly, not through calculated strain but through unforeseen avenues. An inheritance, a gift, a chance opportunity, a sudden promotion, a creative idea. These are demonstrations of divine law at work, moving beyond human planning to deliver what is needed. Struggle could never have orchestrated such blessings, only alignment could. Large sums flow by divine law, and often they arrive suddenly, as though from nowhere, to remind the soul that supply is never earned, only received. To earn suggests conditionality, but divine law is unconditional, as steady as the rising sun, as sure as the tide. One must release the belief that money comes by suffering. That belief has bound humanity for centuries, keeping men and women in chains of endless labor, believing themselves unworthy of ease. Yet divine law delights in ease. It is not lazy ease, not idleness, but the ease of harmony, of right action flowing from faith. Struggle drains energy, while alignment replenishes it. Struggle speaks of fear, alignment speaks of confidence. Large sums flow when the soul rests in this confidence, when it knows without doubt that supply is present, flowing, and abundant. To struggle is to resist, to align is to allow. The difference is as great as night and day, for one leads to exhaustion, the other to fulfillment. September marks harvest and fruition. This sacred month carries with it the vibration of gathering, of reaping what has long been sown, of seeing invisible seeds take shape in visible form. Life itself is built upon the principle of cycles, and September is the cycle of manifestation, the time when intentions planted in faith begin to ripen into tangible blessings. The farmer does not despair when he sows his seed, for he trusts the soil, the rain, and the sun. He knows the harvest will come in its appointed season. Likewise, those who plant thoughts of abundance, words of prosperity, and actions of faith throughout the year find September rich with reward. It is not merely the turning of the leaves, nor the cooling of the air, but the spiritual symbolism of harvest, the culmination of unseen forces working together to bring forth visible supply. Fruition is the natural outcome of alignment with law. Nothing appears out of season, every manifestation has its time. September whispers that the time has come, that the waiting is over, that the field once bare now bears fruit in abundance. This is not the moment of planting, nor the moment of tilling the soil, but the moment of gathering. Many labor tirelessly, believing they must force their blessings into existence, yet when aligned with divine timing, the harvest comes with ease. Just as apples ripen on the branch without strain, so too do opportunities ripen before our eyes when we stand in faith. September carries the vibration of readiness, of completion, of the invisible made visible. What was once only a vision, an affirmation, a prayer spoken in the silence, now steps forth boldly into the physical world, clothed in form, ready to be received. Harvest does not come to all alike, for it reveals only what has been sown. Those who have planted fear, doubt, and complaint may reap disappointment, while those who have planted faith, gratitude, and expectancy reap abundance. The law cannot be mocked, it returns to each according to their planting. September is a mirror, reflecting back the sum of thought, word, and deed, yet it also offers a merciful lesson, for even a disappointing harvest awakens the soul to plant differently for the seasons ahead. Fruition is both a reward and a teacher, reminding us that every moment of thought is a seed, and every seed bears fruit in its appointed time. Thus September does not merely bring riches, it brings understanding, showing clearly the link between inner belief and outer experience. In the language of nature, harvest is abundance overflowing. The fields yield more than enough, the baskets strain under the weight of gathered fruit, the barns swell with grain. This imagery is not accidental, it is divine symbolism. Life does not give sparingly, it gives lavishly, extravagantly, pressed down and running over. Fruition is not a meager handful but an overflowing storehouse. September teaches that supply is generous by nature, and when aligned with law, one need never fear lack. The same law that multiplies a single seed into a harvest multiplies a single affirmation into a flow of abundance. Large sums, new opportunities, restored health, joyful relationships. All of these can be harvested when faith has been consistently planted. September is the evidence that nothing planted in truth has been lost, that every good seed produces its rightful return. Fruition carries with it the fragrance of surprise. The farmer plants his crop, yet often the harvest exceeds expectation. So too does the spiritual harvest. What one receives in September may be greater than what was envisioned, arriving through channels unforeseen, bearing blessings unimagined. Divine law delights in multiplying the harvest, adding increase to every good seed. A small act of faith may yield a great return. A single spoken word of affirmation may bring a torrent of provision. A quiet belief may draw forth large sums of money in unexpected ways. Fruition always surpasses the seed, for the seed contains potential far beyond its appearance. A single acorn contains within it not only a tree but an entire forest. Likewise, a single affirmation of abundance contains within it not only provision for today, but wealth for generations. September reminds us of the hidden potential in every seed, of the greatness contained in even the smallest act of faith. Harvest is also joy. The joy of seeing the fruits of labor, the joy of holding in one's hand what was once only held in imagination. September is a celebration, not of effort alone, but of trust rewarded, of patience fulfilled, of divine law proving itself faithful. This joy is not shallow. It is the deep gladness that comes from knowing that the universe is ordered, that supply is certain, that nothing good is ever lost. The farmer may dance in his field, the gatherer may sing as she fills her basket, for both know the faithfulness of law. Likewise, the soul rejoices when fruition comes, for it feels the certainty of divine promise. Joy itself is a magnet, drawing even more abundance into the field of experience, for gratitude multiplies what is received. September is therefore not only the month of receiving, but the month of rejoicing, of magnifying blessings by the energy of thanksgiving. To mark harvest is to recognize divine timing. Many grow weary in the waiting, forgetting that every seed has its appointed hour. Yet September shows that nothing is delayed, it only ripens according to law. The apple does not ripen in spring, nor does the grain mature in winter. To demand fruition before its time is to invite disappointment, but to rest in patience is to be rewarded with abundance. September teaches trust in divine timing, reminding us that everything unfolds in perfect sequence, that no good thing is ever withheld, that every rightful desire finds expression at the appointed hour. The impatience of summer yields to the satisfaction of fall, and the waiting soul finds its fulfillment. Fruition is also completeness. September gathers the scattered energies of the year into a single moment of realization. What began as thought has now become form. What was invisible has become visible. What was hoped for has become tangible. This completeness is a divine seal, a confirmation that the law works unfailingly, that faith is never wasted, that every good intention bears fruit in its time. September is the month when this completeness is felt most deeply, when the cycle is fulfilled, and the soul knows with certainty that abundance is real, constant and secure. Money is living energy responsive to faith. It is not cold, lifeless paper nor static numbers written in ledgers, but a vibrant current that flows like electricity, eager to move, eager to serve, eager to manifest wherever belief allows. To many, money appears inert, as though it must be forced from the world through endless effort, bargaining, or struggle. Yet in truth, it is a dynamic expression of universal substance, infused with the same creative vitality that animates the stars, the rivers, and the breath of life itself. Money, like all energy, responds not to fear, doubt, or clinging, but to clarity, confidence, and expectancy. Where there is faith, money gathers. Where there is fear, it scatters. Where there is joy, it multiplies. Where there is complaint, it contracts. To understand this is to step into harmony with the law of supply. For one then ceases to treat money as a cruel master and begins to command it as a faithful servant. Faith is the magnetic force that directs this living energy. Just as a magnet draws iron without strain, so too does faith draw money from the unseen into the seen. One need not chase money endlessly, for that is the behavior of one who believes money is outside their control. But the soul that stands in faith knows that money is obedient, that it listens, that it takes shape according to the mold of belief. When one speaks words of certainty, large sums of money are now flowing to me freely and abundantly. The energy of money stirs, quickens, and rushes to obey. It does not question, it does not delay, it simply responds to the vibration of conviction. Doubt, however, weakens the signal, scattering energy like seeds blown to the wind. Faith concentrates, gathers, directs, while doubt disperses and withholds. This is why two people in identical circumstances may experience vastly different outcomes. One aligns with money as responsive energy, the other treats it as a rigid obstacle. Faith opens the gates, fear closes them. Money is not moral or immoral, it is neutral, awaiting the command of thought and word. In the hands of fear, it dwindles, for fear cannot hold what it distrusts. In the hands of greed, it slips away, for greed repels by clinging too tightly. But in the hands of faith, it flourishes, for faith is expansive and generous. Money mirrors the consciousness of its possessor. If one believes it is scarce, it behaves as scarce. If one believes it flows easily, it behaves as flowing. If one blesses money, it multiplies. If one curses it, it diminishes. This is why faith is essential. Faith sets the tone. Faith determines the pattern. Faith shapes the outcome. Money is not a distant power dictating terms to humanity. It is a servant awaiting direction. The question is not whether money will respond, but what command it has been given. Faith commands increase, fear commands decrease. The living nature of money is evident in how it moves. It is never stagnant but always in circulation. It moves from hand to hand, from account to account, from nation to nation, like blood flowing through the veins of the world. To hoard it in fear is to dam the current, and a dammed river breeds stagnation. To release it with confidence is to keep the current alive, ensuring its return multiplied. Those who give in faith never lack, for they understand that money, like energy, seeks circulation. It returns to its source, magnified by its journey. But those who grip it in fear find it slipping away, for money resists bondage. Faith knows that release is not loss but expansion, that every outflow invites an inflow, that giving is the proof of trust and the magnet of return. Money thrives where it is treated as living energy, not as a lifeless possession to be buried away. Faith transforms the relationship with money from pursuit to partnership. The fearful chase after it, pleading for its favor, believing themselves at its mercy. But the faithful command it, speak to it, bless it, and watch it respond. Faith does not beg for money, it affirms it. Faith does not say, I need, it says, I have. Faith does not wonder if money will come. It knows money is already on its way, already present in the unseen, already responsive to the vibration of belief. Just as light responds instantly when a switch is flipped, money responds instantly to the switch of faith. The manifestation may take form through channels, jobs, opportunities, gifts, unexpected avenues, but the energy is already moving the moment faith is spoken. Money, like all energy, obeys the command it receives without hesitation. This truth dissolves the illusion of chance or luck. Money does not arrive by accident, nor does it disappear by coincidence. It flows according to law, responding precisely to the consciousness of the individual. One who holds thoughts of constant lack will find lack multiplied. One who holds thoughts of continual supply will find supply multiplied. The difference is not in the outer world, but in the inner vibration. Faith is the key that turns the invisible into the visible, the unseen into the seen. Without faith, money appears capricious, unpredictable, untrustworthy. With faith, money reveals its true nature as obedient, dependable, and abundant. Just as a gardener trusts the soil to yield fruit when seeds are planted, the faithful trust the universe to yield money when affirmations are spoken. Both operate by the same principle: what is planted inwardly must manifest outwardly. Faith also purifies the motives surrounding money. When one understands money as living energy, they cease to fear it, worship it, or despise it. They see it as a servant, not a master. They see it as a means, not an end. They see it as a symbol of divine provision, not as a source of identity or worth. This clarity allows money to flow freely, unburdened by the weight of superstition or false belief. Money is not to be chased nor resisted, but embraced as part of the great stream of life. Faith allows one to bless money, to welcome it joyfully, to use it wisely, and to release it confidently, knowing it always returns. The energy of money thrives where it is honored, respected, and treated as alive. Money is living energy, and it delights in movement, expansion, and multiplication. It does not shrink in the presence of faith. It grows. It does not retreat before confidence, it advances. It does not hide from gratitude, it reveals itself. Faith is the current that directs this energy, and without it, money drifts aimlessly, appearing scarce or absent. With faith, money becomes abundant, present, and obedient. To see money in this way is to dissolve struggle, to replace fear with certainty, to step into harmony with divine law. Faith is the language money understands, the command it obeys, the vibration it responds to without fail. Supply exists first in the unseen, then manifests. The visible world is only the final expression of an invisible order, a shadow cast by the eternal light of spirit. Every form, every object, every sum of money, every opportunity is first born in the realm of thought, imagination, and vibration before it appears in tangible substance. What we see with our physical eyes is simply the harvest of what has been cultivated in the invisible. To believe only in appearances is to live as one who stares at the fruit but forgets the seed. To understand that supply exists first in the unseen is to place confidence in the origin of all manifestation, knowing that the invisible always precedes and governs the visible. Faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Without faith, the unseen remains intangible and unrealized potential. With faith, the unseen takes shape, crystallizing into experiences, possessions, and events. This is why faith is called the evidence of things not seen, for it is the certainty that what exists invisibly must inevitably appear. The farmer who plants a seed cannot see the plant in its fullness, yet he knows it exists already within the seed, waiting only for time and nourishment to reveal it. So it is with supply. The wealth, the health, the opportunities, the love, all are contained in the unseen seed of spirit, waiting for faith to call them forth. Supply is not created when it appears, it is only revealed. The manifestation is simply the unveiling of what was already true in the invisible. To live in alignment with this law is to cease worrying over appearances. The world may declare lack, the bank account may appear empty. The opportunities may seem absent, yet in the unseen the supply is full, abundant, and overflowing. The physical eyes may see desert, but the spiritual vision perceives the wellspring beneath. Those who cling to appearances panic and despair, but those who know the unseen rest in calm assurance. They speak as if it were already done, for in truth it is. They affirm abundance while others lament scarcity, and soon their faith clothes the unseen with visible form. Supply cannot be denied, for it already exists. The only question is whether one will align with it in thought, word, and expectation. Every thought is a seed planted in the unseen. Words water these seeds, and feelings provide the sunlight that nourishes them. In time, the invisible planting becomes visible harvest. This is why careless words and fearful thoughts bring forth lack, while affirmations of abundance bring forth prosperity. The law does not discriminate, it simply reproduces what is planted. If one sows fear, the unseen responds with scarcity made visible. If one sows faith, the unseen responds with supply made visible. The invisible is the womb of creation, and it faithfully delivers whatever it is given to carry. The wise therefore guard their thoughts, speak words of life, and expect only good, knowing that the unseen will take their inner pattern and cast it into form. Supply is not limited by the channels through which it manifests. A paycheck, a client, a gift, an idea. These are merely vehicles, not the source. The source is always the unseen, the infinite substance that fills all things. To confuse the channel with the source is to live in fear, for channels change. Jobs may end, businesses may shift, relationships may alter. But the unseen supply never diminishes, never wavers, never fails. When one channel closes, the unseen source simply opens another. To rest in the unseen is to never fear loss, for the flow is eternal. Supply is like water underground, invisible to the eye but certain and abundant. The well may dry in one place, but the spring continues to flow, waiting to be tapped in another. The faith-filled do not cling to channels. They remain attuned to the unseen source that creates new avenues of provision. The manifestation of supply is often sudden, as though appearing out of nowhere, but in truth it was always present in the unseen. It is like the moment a bud bursts into flower. To the casual eye, the flower seems to have appeared in a single day, yet in reality it was forming quietly, invisibly, long before it opened. So it is with money, opportunities, and blessings. They form in the unseen, called forth by affirmation and faith, until one day they emerge into visibility. The world calls it sudden fortune or luck, but those who understand know it is the inevitable blossoming of seeds long planted in the unseen. Nothing appears by accident, everything unfolds according to law. This principle frees the soul from fear and struggle. There is no need to chase supply frantically, for it already exists. There is no need to force outcomes, for they are already forming invisibly. The work is not in striving outwardly but in aligning inwardly. To affirm abundance, to visualize prosperity, to give thanks for supply unseen is the true labor, and it is a labor of faith, not of strain. Just as the seed does not push the soil with panic, but unfolds steadily according to its pattern, so too do blessings emerge naturally when faith is steady. The unseen is always at work, whether one perceives it or not. To trust this is to find peace even in apparent lack, for one knows lack is only temporary appearance, never eternal truth. The unseen is abundant beyond measure. Every idea, every invention, every opportunity, every form of wealth already exists in potential, waiting to be drawn forth. Supply is not created out of nothing, it is revealed from the inexhaustible storehouse of spirit. When one calls upon this storehouse with confidence, it responds. When one doubts, it waits, for doubt withholds the call. Faith is the key that unlocks the treasury of the unseen, and gratitude is the hand that receives it. Those who understand this principle are never shaken by temporary appearances, for they know the unseen is always richer than the seen, always fuller, always ready to overflow into manifestation. Supply exists first in the unseen, then manifests. To know this is to live in calm expectancy. Never doubting, never fearing, always affirming, always receiving. The visible world is but a shadow, the unseen is the substance. One who places their trust in appearances will always be unsettled, for appearances shift like sand. But one who places their trust in the unseen stands secure, for the unseen is eternal, inexhaustible, and sure. Every blessing, every sum of money, every opportunity has its roots in the invisible, and faith is the bridge by which it steps forth into the light of day. Fear blocks abundance. Faith unlocks it. Fear is the great wall that rises between the soul and its supply, shutting off the flow of good that is already prepared and waiting. It whispers lies of limitation, telling us that there is not enough, that opportunities are scarce, that wealth belongs to others but not to us. Fear creates shadows where there is light, deserts where there are rivers, emptiness where there is fullness. It paralyzes the mind, narrows vision, and shuts the heart. In the presence of fear, abundance is withheld, not because supply has diminished, but because fear has closed the door of acceptance. The universe is ever ready to pour blessings, yet fear clutches tight, refusing to receive, refusing to believe, refusing to allow. Faith, however, swings wide the door. Where fear contracts, faith expands. Where fear doubts, faith affirms. Where fear resists, faith allows. Faith is the golden key that unlocks the treasure house, inviting abundance to flow freely and without obstruction. Fear operates by creating false images. It paints pictures of failure, loss, poverty, and disappointment, and the mind, believing these images, projects them into experience. It is not the external world that limits abundance, but the inner theater of fear playing its illusions. When one rehearses worry day after day, the energy of creation is directed toward lack, and the invisible begins to mold itself accordingly. Fear is a magnet for what it dreads. It calls forth scarcity because it believes in scarcity. It invites loss because it expects loss. The law of mind does not discriminate, it simply produces in accordance with belief. Fear is belief inverted, faith placed in the wrong direction. It is faith in absence, faith in lack, faith in failure. What one fears most is often what one experiences, not because life is cruel, but because law is precise. The mind has been given creative power, and it brings forth what it continually dwells upon. Faith, by contrast, creates true images. It sees abundance where none is visible. It hears opportunity where silence seems to reign. It feels security where appearances suggest risk. Faith holds these images steadily, refusing to waver, until the invisible becomes visible. Faith is magnetic to good, drawing it forth in exact proportion to belief. Where fear blocks, faith releases. Where fear binds, faith frees. Faith does not beg for abundance, it knows abundance is already present in the unseen. It affirms, it expects, it rejoices, and in doing so, it aligns the individual with the law of supply. Just as a key turns a lock with ease, faith unlocks doors that fear keeps shut. The wealth, the opportunities, the large sums of money, the open doors, they all exist already in potential. Faith calls them into manifestation. Fear drives them away. Fear is a contraction of spirit, a tightening that says, there is not enough. Faith is an expansion, an opening that declares, there is more than enough. The difference is vast, yet subtle, for both operate inwardly long before results are seen outwardly. When fear is entertained, the body feels it, tension, heaviness, restlessness. These are signals that the flow of abundance is being obstructed. When faith is embraced, the body responds with ease, lightness, and vitality. These are signs that the channel is clear and the flow of good is unhindered. One can test this principle at any moment. Think fearful thoughts of lack and notice how heavy the spirit feels. Then speak words of faith and abundance, and observe how quickly energy shifts. The inner state determines the outer flow, and faith is the state that aligns with plenty. Fear often disguises itself as caution, realism, or practicality, yet beneath the mask it is still disbelief. It says, be careful, for there may not be enough, or, do not expect too much, lest you be disappointed. Such thoughts sound wise to the world, but they are chains that bind abundance. Faith is the courage to expect lavishly, to affirm boldly, to believe in unseen supply even when appearances contradict. Faith does not deny appearances, but it refuses to be ruled by them. It looks beyond the immediate to the eternal, beyond the visible to the invisible, beyond the limited to the limitless. Where fear whispers, what if it doesn't happen? Faith proclaims, it is already happening. This certainty unlocks abundance, for the universe responds not to hesitation but to conviction. Fear hoards, believing that to give is to lose. Faith releases, knowing that to give is to multiply. Fear clings tightly to every coin, terrified it will not return. Faith opens the hand, trusting that every outflow invites an inflow. Fear measures and counts, living in constant calculation. Faith rests and rejoices, living in expectancy. The fearful heart sees money as scarce and fleeting, and so it slips away. The faithful heart sees money as abundant and circulating, and so it increases. Fear builds walls, faith builds channels. Fear says, hold on tightly. Faith says, let it flow. Where fear blocks, faith unlocks, and the abundance of life rushes in to fill every need. Fear cannot coexist with gratitude, for gratitude is the language of faith. Gratitude says, I already have, I already am provided for, I already live in abundance. This attitude unlocks greater supply, for the law multiplies what is praised. Fear, by contrast, complains, criticizes, and laments, and thus multiplies what it despises. To shift from fear to faith is to shift from complaint to gratitude, from lack to plenty, from blockage to flow. Gratitude transforms the heart, dissolving fear and amplifying faith until abundance becomes natural. Every word of thanks is a declaration of faith, every act of appreciation a key that unlocks more good. Fear weakens vision. It causes one to see only obstacles, problems, and closed doors. Faith sharpens vision. It reveals opportunities, solutions, and open pathways. Fear blinds the eye to what is possible, but faith opens it wide to endless possibilities. Where one person sees impossibility, another, guided by faith, sees divine provision. The difference is not in the world, but in the lens through which it is viewed. Fear looks through the lens of scarcity and finds it everywhere. Faith looks through the lens of abundance and discovers it in every place, in every circumstance, in every season. This is why two individuals can face the same situation, one failing miserably under the weight of fear, the other prospering gloriously by the power of faith. Fear is resistance to divine law, while faith is alignment with it. The law of abundance flows ceaselessly, like a great river, yet fear dams the current. Faith removes the dam and allows the river to rush forward with power. Fear believes in separation, as though one were cut off from source. Faith believes in unity, knowing that one is never apart from the infinite supply. Fear says, I am alone. Faith says, I am sustained. Fear says, it may not happen. Faith says, it cannot fail. The difference is life-changing, for one contracts the soul, while the other expands it into limitless supply. Fear blocks abundance, faith unlocks it. This principle governs every area of life: money, relationships, health, and opportunity. Fear keeps doors closed, faith opens them. Fear binds, faith liberates. Fear drains energy, faith empowers. Fear builds lack, faith builds prosperity. To choose fear is to choose limitation, to choose faith is to choose expansion. Fear is the shadow, faith is the light. Fear believes in absence, faith believes in presence. Fear prepares for loss, faith prepares for increase. The one who lives in fear experiences constant barriers, but the one who lives in faith walks through doors that swing wide with ease. Money is a living current of divine substance. It is not cold metal nor silent paper. It is energy, eager to obey the thought that directs it. Every coin, every note, every number dancing across a screen is alive with invisible power, awaiting the word that gives it form and purpose. Many handle money with fear, clinging to it tightly or pushing it away with thoughts of lack. But when you touch money with faith, gratitude, and commanding words, you awaken its higher nature. You transform it from a lifeless symbol into a vibrant servant of good. Each time your fingers meet the substance of wealth, you are at the threshold of an unseen door. Through that door flows abundance, ready to answer the call of a mind that knows its power. Whispering words of faith over money is not superstition, it is spiritual law in motion. As the seed responds to the soil, money responds to the consciousness that surrounds it. Touch it with fear and it shrinks, touch it with command and it multiplies. The spoken word is the wand of the soul. What you declare over your money writes the pattern it must follow. You may hold a single coin and yet summon the wealth of a kingdom if your word is steadfast and rich with conviction. When you say, "You are a river of prosperity flowing to me and through me," you do not beg, you decree. The universe bends its ear to a word spoken with certainty. Money, when blessed, becomes a messenger of good. It travels out from your hands like a seed carried by the wind, returning multiplied. But when cursed with fear and worry, it hides. It slips away, for it cannot remain where it is not welcomed in love. The secret is simple and golden. Bless what you touch, and it will bless you in return. As your hand closes around a bill, or your eyes rest upon a bank balance, speak to it as to an old friend. Let your words be warm, clear, and unwavering. Tell it what it is and what it must do. Call it abundant. Call it faithful. Call it increasing. The universe has no choice but to echo the song you sing to it. To touch money in the right spirit is to touch a key that unlocks doors. With each word you declare, you build invisible bridges for wealth to find its way to you. You are not a beggar before the throne of fortune. You are the heir of a boundless kingdom. The energy of prosperity rushes to those who recognize it, honor it, and speak its language. Every time you touch money, know that you hold not just paper, not just coin, but power. It is a mirror, reflecting your belief. Speak to it as a master speaks to a loyal servant. Command it to go forth, increase, and return in overflowing measure. In that moment, you do not merely handle currency, you shape reality. Money responds to the consciousness that surrounds it, because money is not a lifeless object, it is an obedient energy. It is woven from the unseen substance of the universe, and like all living currents, it bends and flows toward the vibration that calls it. Many see money as separate from themselves, a distant prize to be chased, but in truth, it is a reflection of the inner world. The thoughts and feelings a person holds create an atmosphere, and money simply mirrors that atmosphere back. When a mind is filled with lack, doubt, and fear, money withdraws like a stream drying in the heat. When a mind is rich with faith, gratitude, and command, money pours forth like water released from a dam. The consciousness you carry is the invisible magnet. Every coin, every note, every digital figure is sensitive to the mental atmosphere around it. The one who believes wealth is elusive finds it always just beyond reach, because the consciousness is one of separation. The one who stands in calm, knowing that abundance is ever present, finds doors opening, paths clearing, opportunities multiplying, because the consciousness is one of union with supply. Money listens not to words alone, but to the vibration beneath them. You may say, "I am wealthy," but if your heart trembles with fear, the current hears the trembling, not the words. You may say nothing at all, yet if your inner world is charged with confident expectation, the current gathers itself around you like a river seeking its bed. Every person carries an invisible aura of belief, and money is drawn or repelled by that aura. A fearful consciousness whispers to money, "You are not enough." A resentful consciousness says, "You do not belong to me." A desperate consciousness cries, "You always leave." And money obeys. It shrinks, it hides, it slips away quietly, as if ashamed to remain where it is not welcomed with strength and grace. But when the consciousness says, "You are welcome," when it says, "You flow freely," when it says, "You are always arriving and expanding," the current of wealth quickens its pace. It finds new channels, new streams, new avenues to appear. The law is subtle and exacting. Money never argues, never rebels, never questions. It simply reflects. If your atmosphere is clouded with fear, it shows you a reality that matches fear. If your atmosphere shines with faith, it shows you a reality that matches faith. This is why two people in the same world, with the same opportunities, can live such different experiences with wealth. One moves through life feeling deprived, seeing doors close, opportunities vanish, bills mount, and resources slip through their hands. The other walks with quiet assurance, and supply seems to appear as if by magic. Yet there is no magic. There is only consciousness setting the pattern, and energy following the pattern faithfully. When you understand this, you begin to see money not as a force outside your control, but as a loyal mirror. It is not judging you, it is not punishing or rewarding you. It simply mirrors the beliefs you cradle in the silence of your mind. If you hold the thought, "Money is hard to get," you create an atmosphere thick with struggle, and money mirrors struggle. If you hold the thought, "Money comes to me easily and freely," you create an atmosphere of ease, and money mirrors ease. The consciousness is the command center, it writes the script, and money plays its part exactly as written. This is why inner work is more powerful than frantic outer action. Action without the right consciousness creates little ripples that die before they reach the shore. But consciousness, saturated with certainty, can send wealth running toward you through channels you could not have planned. The outer world is merely the stage, the inner world is the author. Every bill in your hand, every transaction you witness, every balance you check, is simply reading the script you have already written in your thoughts and feelings. A consciousness of fear creates a closed door. It whispers, "There isn't enough." It breathes out a cold wind that repels the current. Money feels unwanted and unwelcome in such a space, and like a guest sensing hostility, it slips away silently. A consciousness of lack clings tightly to the little it has, afraid to let it go. And in that grasping, the river dries up. But a consciousness of abundance knows that wealth is like air. It flows freely and endlessly. It does not clutch at it in fear. It welcomes it with ease, and in that welcome, the current grows stronger. There is a quiet power in knowing that what surrounds you is shaped by what is within you. When a person shifts their inner world from fear to faith, from scarcity to sufficiency, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to match the new frequency. Opportunities that were once invisible begin to appear. Doors that seemed closed begin to open. The same coins, the same currency, the same economy, yet the experience changes because the consciousness has changed. Money responds instantly to vibration. It does not delay, it does not hesitate. It flows toward certainty like iron filings to a magnet. A consciousness that radiates confidence, gratitude, and mastery creates a clear channel for money to move through. This is not about arrogance or force. It is about alignment. It is the calm, unwavering knowing that wealth belongs where it is welcomed. Money does not resist this knowing, it yields to it effortlessly. The one who understands this no longer chases money with restless energy. They stand in stillness and let it flow. Their hands touch a coin, a note, or a digital figure, and their heart says, "This is part of an endless current." They do not panic when money moves away, for they know it moves like the tide, flowing in, flowing out, always returning. They no longer place their power in external conditions. They keep it anchored in the atmosphere of their own belief. The consciousness around money is not a small thing. It is the very soil in which the seeds of prosperity are planted. A barren soil cannot produce a rich harvest, but a fertile soil, warm with faith and alive with expectation, cannot help but yield abundance. Money simply grows where it is invited to grow. It flows where the channel is open. It multiplies where the atmosphere is friendly. A person can work harder than anyone and still struggle if their consciousness is closed. Another can move with less visible effort and attract more, not because of luck, but because their consciousness is open. Money is not loyal to effort alone. It is loyal to the energy it feels. It listens not to frantic actions, but to the silent language of belief. This is why some may touch money and feel it slip away like sand through their fingers, while others touch it and see it return tenfold. The difference is not in the money itself, but in the consciousness surrounding it. When your atmosphere declares, "I am always provided for," money hears and obeys. When your atmosphere whispers, "I never have enough," money hears and obeys. It cannot help itself. It must mirror what is given to it. The great shift happens not in the outer world, but in the unseen realm of thought and feeling. The mind that learns to see money as a willing partner rather than a distant master becomes the author of abundance. The hands that touch money with gratitude rather than fear open invisible gates. The heart that stands firm in the knowing that all supply is infinite becomes the magnet through which wealth flows ceaselessly. Money responds to the consciousness that surrounds it with perfect faithfulness, never adding, never subtracting, simply reflecting. The atmosphere of a mind rich in certainty draws wealth, like a steady flame draws moths. The atmosphere of a mind clouded with fear pushes it away like smoke driving birds from the air. To change the response of money, one must change the atmosphere, not the currency. The invisible comes first, and the visible follows. Spoken words direct the flow of prosperity, because the universe is always listening, not with ears, but with law. The words you speak are not merely sounds that vanish into the air. They are commands that shape the invisible substance of life. Each word carries a vibration, a frequency, and that frequency acts like a key, turning a lock, opening or closing doors through which abundance flows. People often speak carelessly, unaware that their words are drawing blueprints for their future. When the lips declare lack, lack takes form. When the lips declare increase, increase rises to meet the declaration. Prosperity is not random, it follows the direction of spoken command. The power of the spoken word is quiet yet absolute. A whispered phrase, if spoken with conviction, can redirect the currents of wealth more strongly than 1,000 unspoken wishes. Words are not weak. They are the carriers of intention, the vessels through which thought becomes tangible. A person may think prosperity, but until they speak it, the thought remains a seed. When the word is spoken, the seed breaks open, releasing its pattern into the words are the bridges between the invisible and the visible, the unseen and the seen, the silent desire and its physical form. Every time you speak, you are either inviting prosperity to come closer or commanding it to stay away. When you say, "Money comes to me freely and easily," you are giving prosperity a clear map to follow. It hears the tone, the confidence, the authority behind the words, and it begins to move accordingly. When you say, "I never have enough," the current obeys just as faithfully, withdrawing into shadows, waiting for a new command. The law does not question your worthiness, it simply answers your voice. People often underestimate their own speech because they believe power exists only in action. But action without aligned words is often scattered and uncertain. Words spoken in fear weaken the structure of prosperity before it can form. Words spoken in faith strengthen it, like a builder reinforcing the frame of a house. The spoken word is creative, formative, directive. It carries your belief beyond the boundaries of thought, impressing it upon the field of energy that surrounds you. When a person learns to use words as instruments of power, their world shifts. They stop repeating phrases that diminish their wealth. They no longer speak casually of being broke, of struggling, of never having enough. They understand that every word sown is a seed that must bear fruit. So they choose words that command abundance, words that honor wealth as an obedient servant, not a distant dream. They speak with authority, not desperation, knowing the universe bends toward clarity. A word spoken in faith does not waver. It stands firm like a pillar, unmoved by outer appearances. Even when the visible world shows lack, the spoken word holds the shape of abundance in the unseen. Prosperity follows that shape as faithfully as water follows the course of a river. This is why repeated declarations of wealth, spoken with calm certainty, are more powerful than desperate pleas. The universe does not respond to pleading. It responds to command. A begging voice carries doubt, and doubt is a wall. A commanding voice carries certainty, and certainty is a gate. It is not the loudness of the voice that matters, but the authority behind it. A quiet whisper spoken with unwavering conviction carries more force than shouting mixed with fear. The spoken word is a vibration, and vibration is the language of the universe. Prosperity is sensitive to tone. It moves toward a voice that speaks in harmony with its nature. It recognizes words of gratitude, of expansion, of faith. It recoils from words of scarcity, of complaint, of fear. When you speak prosperity, you are giving life to the form it will take. If you speak of money as a friend, it will act like one. If you speak of money as an enemy, it will hide from you. Words shape the personality of your relationship with wealth. They color it, mold it, define it. Every sentence builds a bridge or a barrier. The one who understands this begins to guard their speech like a gatekeeper. They choose words deliberately, not because they are pretending, but because they know the law. They know the spoken word is a tool, not a toy. Words spoken over money carry a unique power. When you hold a bill in your hand and speak to it as if it is alive, it responds, not because of superstition, but because energy recognizes command. Saying, "You are multiplying, you are flowing back to me in overflowing measure," is not empty poetry, it is a directive. It sets the current in motion. The words imprint a pattern on the energy of money, and that pattern attracts matching experiences. If a person continually says, "I can't afford this," they are carving that phrase into their reality. The universe does not argue, it simply agrees. "I can't afford this," becomes a wall that prosperity will not climb. If instead they say, "I choose where my wealth flows," they speak from authority, and authority opens pathways. Words are doors. Some words open, some words close. The power is always in the one who speaks. The rhythm of speech creates a rhythm in life. A voice that continually repeats words of shortage creates a life that echoes shortage. A voice that continually repeats words of sufficiency creates a life that echoes abundance. This is why affirmations, when spoken with belief, are not idle phrases, they are spiritual architecture. Each word is a brick, each sentence a beam, each declaration a foundation. The house of prosperity is built not only with thought but with spoken decree. It is not necessary to explain to the universe how prosperity will come. The spoken word does not concern itself with methods, it concerns itself with essence. When you say, "I am surrounded by unlimited supply," you are not describing a specific event, you are setting the tone of your reality. Prosperity responds to tone more than detail. It recognizes faith more than plans. It moves toward clarity like a river to the sea. The habit of careless speech is one of the strongest barriers to wealth. Many speak of money with frustration, fear, or dismissal, unaware they are directing their prosperity to retreat. Words are like arrows. Once loosed, they cannot be called back. They travel straight to their mark and shape what they touch. A single repeated phrase can create years of financial struggle if it carries the vibration of lack. A single repeated declaration of abundance, spoken with authority, can turn the tide. This is why silence is better than fear-filled talk. If you cannot speak words that build, it is wiser to remain silent than to speak words that destroy. But when you speak, speak deliberately. Speak as one who knows the universe listens. Speak as one who commands energy, not as one begging it to appear. Prosperity respects authority. It moves toward it, not away from it. Every spoken word leaves an imprint. Some imprint scarcity, others abundance. Words create paths that prosperity either follows or avoids. If you declare, "I am always provided for," you create a clear road. If you declare, "Nothing ever works out for me," you build a wall across that road. The universe does not decide which to honor, it honors both with equal precision. The choice rests entirely in the one who speaks. When you speak, speak as a creator, not as a spectator. Speak not of what you see, but of what you intend. Words are not bound by the present moment. They shape what comes next. Even if your current reality shows emptiness, your words can build fullness. Even if your hands hold little, your voice can call forth plenty. The spoken word is not limited by appearances. It speaks from authority, not circumstance. There is a difference between idle speech and creative decree. Idle speech wanders without aim. Creative decree stands firm and calls the unseen into form. The one who learns to decree prosperity with clarity and faith becomes a sculptor of reality. Their words are chisels, shaping the stone of experience. They do not chase wealth, they summon it. They do not plead for supply, they command it to reveal itself. Spoken words direct the flow of prosperity because prosperity listens, always, without fail. It hears the tone, the frequency, the authority, and it obeys. A single word of faith can move more wealth than a lifetime of fear. A steady voice can open channels where none seem to exist. When the lips declare abundance, the law moves to make it visible. When the lips declare lack, the law withdraws its hand. Words are the rudder, and prosperity is the ship. The direction is decided not by chance, but by speech. Blessing money multiplies its return because whatever is blessed expands, and whatever is cursed with fear or resentment contracts. Money is not an enemy to be wrestled with. It is a servant that responds to the spirit in which it is received, held, and released. When you bless money, you do not merely speak kind words over it. You infuse it with a vibration that invites increase. Blessing carries a quiet power that lifts the ordinary into the realm of the extraordinary. It transforms money from a static object into a living current, flowing outward with purpose and returning with greater strength. The act of blessing aligns you with the consciousness of abundance. When you hold a coin or a bill and bless it, you acknowledge it as a part of infinite supply. You shift your perception from lack to gratitude, from tension to flow. That shift is not invisible, it radiates into the energy around you. Money, being sensitive to energy, responds. It begins to move more freely, finding its way back through unexpected channels, multiplying in form and opportunity. A blessing does not beg for more. It declares that more is already present and on its way. When money is blessed, it carries that blessing forward. It touches hands, places, and circumstances, carrying your intention like a message folded into a letter. The energy placed upon it does not disappear, it travels. It goes out into the world and circles back with companions. This is why blessing is not a mere gesture. It is a deliberate act of setting prosperity in motion. The person who blesses what they have creates a magnet that draws increase without struggle. To bless is to give thanks. It is to say, I recognize your value, I honor your presence, I release you in faith, knowing you will return multiplied. Fearful hands clutch money tightly, choking its flow. Blessed hands open with trust, allowing it to circulate, and circulation is the law of increase. Money thrives in movement, not stagnation. When you bless it, you give it permission to do what it was designed to do: flow, serve, expand, return. Some believe they cannot bless what little they have because it feels too small. But it is the small seed that becomes the tree. A single coin blessed with faith carries greater power than a large sum cursed with worry. When you bless what is in your hand, no matter how modest, you are telling the universe, I am a good steward of abundance. I recognize wealth in every form. The universe answers by sending more to the one who honors the little. Cursing money through complaint or resentment closes the gates of return. When someone looks at their funds and says, this isn't enough, the energy of lack wraps around the money like a net, binding its movement. But when they say, I bless this money and release it to multiply, the net breaks and the current flows freely. The blessing is not about ignoring reality. It is about commanding reality to expand. Words of blessing speak to the hidden potential within the money and potential answers to recognition. Blessing creates harmony between you and prosperity. It removes the sharp edges of fear that repel wealth. It replaces anxiety with calm authority. A person who blesses money walks with quiet confidence, not because they have everything, but because they know everything is always arriving. Each time they touch money, whether giving or receiving, they bless it. This steady rhythm of blessing builds an atmosphere where increase becomes natural. Money is not shy. It seeks places where it is respected, not feared. When you bless it, you create a warm welcome, a place where it wants to stay and grow. Just as plants thrive in nourishing soil, money thrives in a consciousness that honors and blesses it. Resentment is like frost. It drives prosperity away. Blessing is like sunlight. It calls it home. Every act of blessing creates a ripple. When you spend blessed money, it carries your energy forward. It blesses the receiver, the place, the transaction itself. That ripple moves outward, gathering momentum. When it returns, it carries not only its original amount, but the energy of everything it touched. Blessing multiplies because the universe mirrors it back in abundance. A person may live in the same circumstances as another, yet experience very different financial realities, simply because one blesses what they have while the other curses it. Blessing shifts the inner climate, and the outer world rearranges itself to match. It is not the amount that matters, but the energy surrounding it. One person may hold a small note and see limitation. Another holds the same note and blesses it, and that simple act becomes the opening through which greater supply pours. When you bless money as it leaves your hands, you are not losing it, you are sending it on a mission. You are saying, go forth, and return multiplied, carrying blessings with you. Money is obedient to intention. If it is sent out in fear, it drifts aimlessly. If it is sent out in blessing, it returns with purpose. Each transaction becomes a seed sown into fertile soil, guaranteed to bear fruit in its time. To bless money is also to bless its source. It is to recognize that behind the physical form is an infinite supply that can never run dry. Blessing affirms that supply is always flowing, always increasing, always present. The person who blesses does not fear when money moves away, because they know it is circling back. They do not clutch or beg, they stand in trust. There is great power in blessing money that others might dismiss. If a bill is small, bless it. If a coin seems insignificant, bless it. If a payment seems delayed, bless it still. Each blessing spoken plants a seed, and every seed must yield a harvest. The universe never forgets a blessing. It keeps the record and answers in its own perfect way. Blessing dissolves the invisible barriers that often keep money from flowing. Many people live surrounded by walls of resentment toward wealth, believing it is scarce or unfairly distributed. That resentment acts like a closed fist. No current can enter a closed fist. Blessing, however, opens the hand, and what is open receives. When you bless the money in your wallet, your account, or your hand, you are blessing your relationship with abundance itself. You are declaring that you are not at war with prosperity, but in harmony with it. This harmony is magnetic. It calls forth opportunities, connections, ideas, and resources that match the energy of blessing. Money blessed in gratitude finds its way back in surprising forms. It may return through work, gifts, opportunities, or unexpected channels. It recognizes where it has been welcomed. Just as water finds the lowest point and gathers there, money finds the consciousness that blesses it and gathers there too. Blessing is like a beacon, guiding it home. Even when circumstances appear lean, blessing keeps the current alive. It prevents stagnation. A person who blesses their money daily builds an unbroken chain of faith. That chain becomes a channel through which supply can move freely. They stop seeing money as a struggle and begin seeing it as a river, steady and faithful. The energy of blessing is soft yet strong. It does not fight, it does not grasp. It simply declares, this money is good. This money is multiplying. This money is serving a divine purpose. And because the universe honors faith, that declaration becomes fact. A single blessing, repeated consistently, can shift an entire financial landscape over time. When you give, bless. When you receive, bless. When you look at your account, bless. When you see even the smallest coin, bless. Each blessing is a spark that lights the way for greater abundance to return. The more blessings are spoken, the stronger the current becomes. The stronger the current, the greater the return. Blessing money multiplies its return because it changes the vibration of both the giver and the gift. It creates harmony where there was tension, expansion where there was fear, faith where there was doubt. It turns ordinary transactions into channels of increase. It transforms the flow of wealth from something uncertain and fragile into something living, breathing, and eager to grow. Command, don't beg. Decree abundance, for the language of the universe is not pleading but authority, the unseen. Laws that govern prosperity respond not to desperation but to clear, unwavering command. To beg is to declare lack, to affirm powerlessness, to speak as one outside the gates of plenty. To command is to recognize your place within abundance, to speak as one who already belongs to the flow of supply. The difference between the two is not in volume or length of speech, but in the tone of consciousness behind the words. Command carries certainty, and certainty moves mountains that begging cannot touch. When a person begs for prosperity, they tell the universe they are separate from it. Their words may be dressed in hope, but beneath them is the vibration of fear, and fear is a wall. The universe does not withhold out of cruelty, it simply mirrors the state of mind. A plea says, I do not have. A decree says, it is already mine. and the law of abundance bends toward the latter with precision and power. The one who decrees abundance speaks as a rightful heir, not a wandering stranger. They understand that prosperity is not a prize to be won, but an inheritance to be claimed. Their words carry no tremble, no doubt, no hesitation. They speak and let their words stand, knowing that the law has heard and is already moving. A decree does not look around nervously for evidence. It creates the evidence. Begging waits for proof to feel secure. Commanding births the proof from invisible substance. To command is to speak from the center of faith. It is to stand in the still place within and let the words emerge like a river flowing from a spring. These are not frantic words, nor are they forced. They are calm, strong, deliberate. I am surrounded by divine supply. Wealth flows to me now. All my needs are met in perfect ways. Such decrees are not wishes. They are statements of spiritual fact, and the unseen current recognizes its name in these statements and rushes to answer. Begging, however, scatters energy. Each plea carries the imprint of uncertainty. It says to the universe, I do not trust you. I do not trust the flow. I fear the outcome. The law of abundance cannot flow freely into a vessel that doubts its own worthiness. It must mirror what it receives, and what it receives in begging is the echo of emptiness. This is why so many plead for wealth and yet never find it. They are standing in the energy of not having, and energy can only multiply what is already present. A decree stands tall. It does not repeat itself out of fear that it will not be heard. It speaks once with conviction and rests. If spoken again, it is with the same quiet authority, not desperation. Just as a king does not beg his servants but commands with certainty, so the soul must speak to the substance of wealth. A king does not chase his decree to see if it was obeyed. He knows the decree has already set the wheels in motion. Commanding abundance is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is stepping into the natural place of power that has always belonged to the spirit. It is the recognition that wealth is not outside of you, but flows through you. When you command, you are not seizing something foreign. You are activating a current that has been waiting for your permission to move. The substance of prosperity does not argue. It obeys the voice of clear authority without delay. The difference between begging and commanding can be felt in the body. Begging tightens the chest, weakens the voice, and clouds the mind. It places the speaker in the position of a beggar outside the gate, hoping for a crumb. Commanding lifts the chest, strengthens the voice, sharpens the gaze. It places the speaker within the palace, speaking as one who belongs. The inner shift is the key. Prosperity listens to that inner tone more than the outer words. When you command abundance, you are not demanding from others or forcing the world. You are aligning with the invisible law that governs all supply. You are declaring, I accept what is already mine. That declaration does not create wealth from nothing. It awakens wealth from the invisible reservoir that has always been there. To command is to open the gate. To beg is to stand before the gate, imagining it locked. A beggar's words create delay because they carry doubt. Doubt slows the flow of manifestation like thick mud slowing a stream. Command sweeps away delay because it carries clarity. Clarity acts like a channel, smooth and wide, allowing the current to flow unhindered. This is why those who command with certainty often see doors open that others believed were closed. They do not wait for permission to step into abundance. They give the permission. Commanding abundance is an act of remembering. It is remembering that the power to shape your reality does not lie in distant hands. It is remembering that the energy of wealth is not above you, beneath you, or beyond you. It is responsive to you. A decree is a key, and every key fits a specific lock. Begging may rattle the door endlessly, but a decree turns the lock with ease. The universe does not distinguish between a whisper of command and a shout of command. It only responds to the vibration beneath it. A quiet, I am provided for, spoken with unshakable certainty, is more powerful than a loud, tearful plea for help. It is not volume that moves energy, but authority. Authority comes from faith, from the deep knowing that what you speak is already true. When you speak a decree of abundance, you are not asking for permission from the world, you are giving instructions to energy. You are saying, this is the pattern, this is the form, this is the reality that shall be. Energy, being obedient, shapes itself to that pattern. It may appear through unexpected channels, through unseen hands, but the pattern was set by the command. Those who live in begging energy often wait endlessly. They believe they must convince the universe to grant them what they desire, as if it were a reluctant giver. But the universe is not reluctant. It is neutral, awaiting direction. It does not choose sides. It mirrors states of being. Command gives it a clear direction to mirror. Begging gives it confusion, and confusion reflects confusion. Command is not frantic or aggressive. It is still and absolute. It does not explain, justify, or argue. It speaks once, twice, or as many times as needed, not to convince but to affirm. It is like a captain giving orders to a crew. The crew does not question the authority of the command, it acts. The energy of abundance responds in the same way. To command abundance is to stop asking if and start declaring now. It is to stop waiting for signs and start being the sign. It is to say, wealth flows to me effortlessly, and to let that statement settle like a seed in fertile soil. A seed does not question whether it will sprout, it simply does. The soil of faith needs no convincing. Begging drains energy, it builds tension, it creates distance between the speaker and the desired outcome. Commanding centers energy, it builds power, it closes the distance and makes the outcome present. A person who commands does not feel lack while they speak, they feel possession. They do not feel fear while they decree, they feel certainty. This feeling is the signal prosperity recognizes and follows. The act of commanding is not about controlling every step of how prosperity arrives. It is about setting the tone and trusting the law to do the rest. Begging tries to force the path, worrying over every detail. Commanding trusts the path to reveal itself. It does not doubt that the command is already fulfilled. It does not count the hours. It stands in quiet assurance. When you command abundance, you are stepping into your rightful authority as a co-creator with the universe. You are no longer an outsider hoping for favor. You are a participant shaping reality. Your decree moves through unseen channels, organizing circumstances, aligning people, opening doors. You may not see the movement instantly, but it is happening the moment the command is spoken. To beg is to speak from scarcity. To command is to speak from abundance. Begging creates shadows, commanding creates form. Begging builds delay, commanding builds pathways. The shift between the two is subtle but absolute. It is the difference between living as a seeker and living as a creator. When the voice steadies and the heart knows, the universe bends without resistance. The power to command is already within every person. It does not need to be earned or begged for. It only needs to be remembered and used. The law of abundance has always waited for clear instruction. The moment command replaces begging, the tide turns. The unseen current, which seemed distant, begins to move. The atmosphere shifts. The river of supply finds its channel. To speak with authority is to align with truth. To command abundance is to declare what is real beyond appearances. This command does not beg for the gate to open, it simply walks through. It does not question its right to be heard, it knows the law is already listening. It does not chase after wealth, it stands as wealth and lets everything align around it. Money is energy, not just paper or coin, and when you understand this truth, the entire relationship with prosperity begins to shift. What people often call money is only its physical symbol, a visible representation of an invisible current. This current moves like wind, unseen yet powerful, responding not to chance but to vibration, thought, and intention. Paper can burn, coins can rust, numbers can change, but the energy behind money flows endlessly, waiting for the direction you give it. When you treat money as energy, you stop clinging to its forms and begin shaping its movement. You no longer chase it, you guide it. This energy is neutral. It does not have emotion, judgment, or preference. It obeys the signals it receives, and the strongest signal comes from the consciousness that holds it. When a person radiates fear, scarcity, or resentment, the energy of money moves away, not out of malice, but because energy always seeks harmony. It flows where it is welcomed. It multiplies where it is trusted. It thrives where it is understood. Those who see money only as paper and coin often chase it with anxious hands. Those who recognize it as energy learn to direct it with calm authority. The physical form of money is like a vessel, but the vessel is meaningless without the current inside. It is the energy that determines how money behaves. This is why some hold great sums yet feel lack, while others hold little yet attract more. One sees only the symbol and fears losing it. The other understands the current and trusts its flow. When you hold a bill or look at a balance, you are not seeing your wealth. You are seeing one temporary shape it has taken. The shape may change, but the energy behind it remains constant, ready to take new forms. This energy responds to clarity. If your thoughts are scattered, fearful, or full of doubt, money's energy mirrors that confusion. It becomes hard to grasp, slipping away through unexpected expenses or missed opportunities. But if your thoughts are focused, confident, and expansive, money's energy aligns with that vibration. It flows in through doors that seem invisible to the eye. It finds paths that logic alone could not map. Energy does not need to be chased because it is not running away. It is waiting for direction. The energy of money loves circulation. Like water, it grows stagnant when hoarded and becomes vibrant when allowed to flow. Those who cling to money out of fear often feel it disappear faster, not because it vanishes into thin air, but because stagnant energy attracts stagnation. When you let money flow with trust, it moves in circles, returning with increase. Giving, spending with joy, investing wisely, and receiving with gratitude are all ways of keeping the energy alive. Fearful thoughts build walls that block energy. People who say, "Money never stays with me," are not cursed. They are simply setting an energetic pattern. Energy hears the statement and obeys. But when you say, "Money flows to me effortlessly and continuously," you set a new pattern, and the energy begins to move accordingly. This is why words are powerful, but even more so when backed by understanding. Words spoken with belief reshape energy. Words spoken without belief leave it unchanged. Money energy does not care about how much you currently possess. It only mirrors your relationship with it. If you treat it as scarce, it will act scarce. If you treat it as abundant, it will act abundant. This is why some people can have little yet feel wealthy, and that feeling becomes a magnet drawing more energy toward them. The current follows emotional and mental frequency more than it follows circumstance. Circumstance bends to energy, not the other way around. When you release the idea that money is limited to the coins in your pocket or the numbers in your account, you begin to understand its true nature. Energy can take any shape. It can arrive through a job, an idea, a gift, an opportunity, a moment of alignment. It can multiply through channels that logic never predicted. When you trust the energy of money, you stop worrying about specific sources. You allow it to flow in ways beyond the narrow paths your mind once imagined. Money as energy means it is part of a larger current. It is never truly lost. It may change hands, change form, or move through different channels, but the current itself remains whole and endless. Fear tells you that when it leaves, it is gone. Trust tells you it is simply circling back in a new way. When you learn to let money's energy move freely, it begins to return to you like a river flowing back to its source. Every emotion, every thought, every word you attach to money sends a signal to this current. Gratitude amplifies it. Confidence strengthens it. Fear constricts it. Resentment scatters it. The energy of money does not judge these signals, it simply responds. When you align with gratitude and faith, the current becomes steady and strong. When you align with doubt and lack, it falters and weakens. This is why inner work is far more powerful than chasing outer circumstances. The outer world only reflects the movement of the energy you have already set in motion. People often say money has power, but in truth, money only reflects power. The energy behind it moves where it is directed. Those who fear it become servants of its form. Those who understand it become masters of its flow. A coin can lie still, but the energy behind it is never still. It is alive, listening for command. It moves toward strength, away from fear. It flows toward expansion, away from contraction. When you treat money like energy, you stop making it heavy. You stop wrapping it in shame, guilt, or resentment. You begin to handle it lightly, with respect, but not with desperation. You bless it when it arrives. You bless it when it moves away. You trust it to return multiplied, not because of blind faith, but because energy always seeks balance. What is sent out with strength and blessing must circle back. The energy of money is infinite because the source behind it is infinite. Paper is printed, coins are minted, numbers are written, but the current existed before any of those forms. It flows through people, ideas, and circumstances, taking shape wherever belief allows it. Those who align with abundance tap into this endless current. Those who align with lack cut themselves off, not because the current has stopped, but because their walls are up. Energy loves clarity of direction. If you constantly worry about losing money, you are giving it the direction to move away. If you constantly affirm its arrival, you are giving it the direction to come closer. It listens not to hesitation, but to certainty. A single clear intention held firmly has more power over money's energy than years of anxious effort. Clarity draws it in like a magnet. Money energy does not require force to move. It requires alignment. It moves easily through those who trust it, like wind moving through open doors. Those who grasp at it, fear it, or despise it close their doors, and the current passes them by. It does not punish. It simply follows the path of least resistance. When your mind and heart open, the current flows back in. When you understand that money is energy, you no longer panic when it shifts form. You no longer feel powerless when it seems to leave. You know it moves like a tide, flowing in and out, always connected to the ocean of supply. This trust removes the desperation that blocks its return. It creates space for new forms of wealth to appear, often from directions you never expected. Money energy thrives on movement. When you give generously with faith, it flows. When you invest with clarity, it grows. When you receive with gratitude, it multiplies. Fear of loss freezes it. Doubt clouds it. Trust liberates it. Those who understand this truth live in a rhythm where money moves freely, constantly circulating and expanding. The energy behind money is not personal, but the relationship you build with it is. It will always mirror the state you hold. If your state is one of ease and trust, the flow will mirror ease and trust. If your state is one of fear and control, the flow will mirror resistance. Understanding this gives you power, not over others, but over your own vibration, your own alignment, your own channel through which energy moves. When you look at money as energy, every interaction with it becomes sacred, not because the paper or coin is sacred, but because the energy it represents is infinite. You begin to handle it with reverence, speak over it with authority, and guide it with intention. You bless its flow instead of fearing its absence. You become a conductor, not a chaser of wealth. This energy never sleeps. It is always moving, always listening, always responding. The more clearly and confidently you engage with it, the more freely it moves toward you. The less fear you attach to it, the stronger its presence becomes. Those who learn to align with the energy of money do not live in constant struggle to hold on to its physical forms. They live in steady partnership with an endless current that knows how to return, multiply, and serve.